Welcome to the Cathedral of College Basketball that opens its doors just twice a year to the high school ranks. Boy, just witnesses, two of us here, to what will be a spectacular atmosphere. Us and about 9,000 of our closest friends. That is no good. 5 seconds left. Xavier Brown. This is for the tie.
Unbelievable.
And we are going to overtime.
They can't believe it.
This is Catholic League basketball.
This is why this place is special, Bob.
Newman-Goretti, one final heave, and the hubcap is coming back to Broad and Vine. Philadelphia Catholic League champions. And they can't keep the students off the floor. A joyous celebration on the center of the Palestra floor. Well, that's what we're starting to play for now. That's what we're previewing here tonight. It all ends at the Palestra, the Cathedral of College Basketball. My name's Bob Long, alongside me, my partner Will Ryan, and for the next however long, we're going to interview 10 different coaches. We're going to preview all the matchups, and we are going to bring you the best wall-to-wall coverage of the Philadelphia Catholic League, as we pride ourselves on doing. Will, what a year. 40 days and 40 nights of Philadelphia Catholic League regular season basketball leads us to here. What got us to this point as we get ready to embark upon the playoffs?
Well, this season was a fun one, a competitive one, and one that didn't lack the history books, right? So some marks in the history books, I should say. You look at Thomas Sorber becoming the all-time leading scorer at Archbishop Ryan. You look at Jaleel Bethea becoming the all-time leading scorer at Archbishop Wood. You look at John Moscow getting his 200th win. You look at Carl Arigale getting his name on the court this year, right? It feels like there's been a lot of history. It feels like it's been a competitive season, which it has been. And it feels like there's more parity this year than in years past, right? When we talk about the Philadelphia Catholic League, the word parity comes up a lot. But what does parity really mean when Roman Catholic and Newman-Goretti are winning, the Catholic League title every year? It feels like there are 6 teams this year, maybe more, that can absolutely go and cut down the net at the Cathedral of College Basketball on that Monday night. And Newman-Goretti and Roman are 2 of them, of course, and Archbishop Wood, who can kind of be included in that Roman and Newman conversation, though they don't necessarily have a championship. They're there. Those 3 are there, no doubt. But then a Father Judge, could they cut down the net? And Archbishop Ryan, they were in the title 2 years ago with that then sophomore class. Darren Williams and Thomas Sorber were 2 of the biggest pieces on that team. Could they cut down the net? St. Joe's Prep, right? You want to talk about a team that under Speedy Morris back in the early and mid 2000s were a power, but are they back now, right? Under a Jason Harrigan. Do they have the guard play? They definitely do have the guard play, but can their guard play lead them to a Catholic League title? It feels like any of those 6 teams, and who knows what the heck can happen with an Archbishop Carroll if they get hot, or a Bonner-Prendergast if they get hot, or Cardinal O'Hara if they get hot, or Devon Prep if they get hot. But it really feels
and those are the 10 teams. There they are, right? We just named every team, and every team either is a bona fide contender or absolutely could get hot, and that's why it'll be fun.
But it really feels like those 6 teams that got that first round bye, if any of those 6 teams are in the final, I don't think anyone is going to be shocked. I really don't.
Nope. 2 more things to add, because you were talking about the plaudits, and the St. Joe's Prep basketball Twitter, by the way, does a great job. So if I'm not saying your name, certainly raise my hand for missing it, but the Twitter accounts help in terms of these things. Jason Harrigan, 150 career wins. That's, of course, spliced between a couple of different destinations for him. And Jaron McKee scored 1,000 points.
Yeah.
So 2 more sets of plaudits in addition to Bethea and Moscow and Sorber and and everything else. So a great year of milestones in the Philadelphia Catholic League.
And if I may add, our first McDonald's All-American since Quade Green, I believe.
Yes.
And
yes.
It'll be real interesting to see Quade Green, McDonald's All-American, not PCL MVP. Jaleel Bethea, reigning PCL MVP. The guy's putting up 30, it feels like every other night. It'll be hard to dethrone him. Thomas Sorber's going to be in that conversation, but will history repeat itself? Will our McDonald's All-American win Philadelphia Catholic League MVP, or will he not? It's going to be interesting.
And it is one of the best races in a long time because both are entirely deserving of the MVP title. And I know we'll talk about this on the back half, but there's a third wheel to that stool in Kafik Myers, who would have been in the mix for that PCL MVP title this year based upon the way he was playing. And we're talking, he got injured the second or third week of the Philadelphia Catholic League season. So he left a lot out there on the table. But at that time, he was in the midst of carving up Archbishop Wood, and Newman-Goretti was undefeated, and he was among the league leaders in scoring. He would have been right there as well, and maybe was the favorite at the moment he went down with injury.
Right, because at that point, Jaleel hadn't hit his stride like he has hit his stride now. Right, we're going to talk to John Moscow later in the show, and you talk about that 40-point game against Centennial, I believe, at Hoop Hall up in Springfield, Massachusetts. Again, there's a lot of Springfield, Delaware County, Springfield, Montgomery County.
That's right. Little tease for that interview, which we pre-recorded before this. Yes, that's right.
But he has 40 in that Centennial game, and then next game was LaSalle, and I think he had 36 in that one. And you're like, whoa, Jaleel's back, right? This is the Jaleel we all know.
That's right.
Making his shot more in rhythm rather than forcing, and that comes with trusting your teammates. So, like, whoa, so Jaleel, McDonald's All-American, will he repeat as MVP? Thomas, best shot blocker we've seen since at least Jalen Duren, but I think statistically Thomas is probably better than Jalen Duren freshman and sophomore years. And that's not to take anything away from Jalen, but Thomas, that just shows how good Thomas is, right? Like, let's talk NBA player. No, Thomas's stats are probably better. So really, really looking forward to seeing what the heck happens with when the coaches come together and put together their top 25.
Yes. Though I'm not looking forward to that quite as much as I'm looking forward to the Catholic League playoffs and the matchups on the floor. Quickly to take you down the standings, and then we'll jump right into the matchups. The number 1 seed, rinse and repeat, Roman Catholic, the Cahillites. Newman-Goretti is the number 2 seed, another great year under Carl Aragale. Fighting some injuries. Kafik Myers won't play, of course, as we talked about right at the top. But Amir Williams coming back from being dinged up. Torrey Brooks has taken on a guard role and a primary guard role in this team, along with Stephon Ashley Wright. The 3 seed is Archbishop Wood, Josh Reed, Jaleel Bethea. They've been unbelievable this year. Their schedule was front-loaded in that they had to play Newman-Goretti and Roman Catholic in the first 2 weekends of the season. They had other top 5 teams in the league, so the top 6, they had played all of those teams in the first 3 or 3.5 weeks of the season. They have gone on a tear since then. St. Joe's Prep, it all started with that first game of the regular season in the Catholic League when they took down Archbishop Ryan. That's the difference between the Hawks hosting that game and traveling to Northeast Philadelphia. Archbishop Ryan, they've lost 3 games. They've led in all of them. 2 of them were on the final possession of the game that they lost. And then the 6th seed is Father Judge, who was 7-1 and needed an overtime win against LaSalle on Sunday to keep them out of the 7 spot. Here's the thing about basketball, though. It's a game of momentum, a game of swings, and that's a team that on any given night can go win a basketball game, including on Friday night. The 7 seed, now the playing games, Archbishop Carroll, led by Francis Bowe. We'll talk to him in just a minute. That's a team built on freshmen and sophomores that are incredibly talented and will get some wonderful experience at a young age oh, by the way, they think they're going to win the game and another one and get to the Palestra this year. The 8 seed is Devon Prep. They achieved that mark by winning against Cardinal O'Hara at home on Sunday, setting up a rematch between those two teams for the second time in 4 days. Cardinal O'Hara is the 9 seed. Fran O'Hanlon came from Lafayette, and as a retirement gig, he's doing a great job coaching the Lions. And then the 10 seed is Bonner-Prendergast, ton of seniors, veteran-laden group. Billy Cassidy's done a great job, and they're playing way better than a 10 seed. So that's a quick march down the Philadelphia Catholic League final regular season standings. And Will, what do you say? Let's dive right in and talk to Francis Bowe of the Archbishop Carroll Patriots as we preview a matchup that will be live on Bob Long Sports on Wednesday, the 14th of February at 6 o'clock as Archbishop Carroll takes on Monsignor Bonner. Well, we're getting started here with our Philadelphia Catholic League preview show, and our first coach that we're going to have on will be playing in the 7-10 matchup. They'll be hosting a playoff game. And I guess we're breaking some news here. Bob Long Sports will be in the building for Archbishop Carroll against Bonner-Prendergast. And Francis Bowe, the head coach of the Patriots, is with us here. Coach, congratulations on a wonderful season to this point. And what has been, in your opinion, the primary driver for your success to this point?
The education of the Catholic League to my kids. I've read a lot of articles, I've heard a lot of reports, and I tend to forget from time to time that we have one of the youngest teams in the Catholic League. I don't have a junior or senior. And a lot of these guys not only were getting their first taste of the Catholic League, they're getting their first taste of high school basketball. So early on, we took 3 pretty tough losses, and it was kind of like, yeah, this is how tough this league really is. And we've just done a great job of just learning from those mistakes, learning from those games, and we put together a nice little stretch here.
You sure have. In fact, you were an overtime loss from Father Judge yesterday away from actually hoisting yourself up into the 6th seed. And like you said, starting 0-3 and fighting back, it's been extremely impressive. By my count, 8-2 in the last 10 games, which is fantastic. Take me back, though, to mid-January. You are 0-3. You're playing another 0-3 team in LaSalle. The snowstorm comes through. You don't have a home gym. You guys have to reschedule that game against LaSalle to go to Chestnut Hill College. And Ian Williams has maybe the moment of the season with the buzzer beater double clutch 3 to win that game in regulation there.
Oh man, felt so long ago. And it really wasn't. But it's we didn't have power in our school for close to a week. We are just shuffling from CYO gyms to competitive edge, trying to figure out what are we gonna do? How are we gonna do this? And then last minute we're able to find a gym to play. So to say that we were the most prepared, I couldn't say that, but the resiliency. I mean, LaSalle was coming in, same record. We're both kind of playing for our lives, to try to get some kind of confidence, get something kind of going here. And it was a battle. But for Ian, sophomore captain, again, that's how young we are. Sophomore captain who took those last 3 losses to heart. And honestly, we lost 2 games before that in non-league play. So we were actually on a 5-game losing streak. And the one thing I can say about the character of our kids, and definitely the character of Ian, is he's a winner. And you could just see that it didn't mess with his confidence, but it was taking a toll on his mental, which it would be anybody else. And for him to come up clutch like that to hit a shot, just shows that, the kid truly is a winner, and it catapulted us into a better part and a better season. And for Ian himself, definitely made a name himself for being definitely an all Catholic League player for sure.
And then you'll remember my partner Will Ryan here. Will,
hey, Will.
how you doing?
How are you, Coach?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I'm great. So you win that game at Chestnut Hill College, and you said that catapulted your season. You go on to beat a very good Monsignor Bonner team the very next game, and that's going to be your matchup in the first round. What did you learn from that January 15th game where you guys won 66-62? And it's a team that's pretty big and senior laden compared to your guard laden and younger team. And you guys figured out a way to win that game. And you'll have the opportunity to figure out how to win that game again in the first round.
Listen, I think it is that, you can't take any team for granted, whether you have all the seniors or you have all the freshmen and sophomores. And, just because, like I have some talented eight guys who were eighth graders who are now ninth graders. They were ranked and rated and some have offers, which is wonderful. There's just, like I said in the beginning of this, there's an education to this. You have to come prepared. You have to be ready. So, we win the LaSalle game. You can just see now that we're now watching more film. We're getting in the weight room a little bit more. We're getting up more shots. So we're not taking any more games for granted. We're not having an attitude that we can just roll the ball out there and win the game. No, you have to do the little things to prepare. So that helped us for that game. So now I think everybody's on the same page now. Everyone has each other scouted 27 times. It's just going to come down to, are you going to execute? Are you not going to waver? Are you not going to let the pressure get to you? And, we've won some tight games, LaSalle, Father Judge. These are games that are big time games. And even the Roman game, we lost, but it was close till the end. Now I feel pretty confident going into these playoffs. And then, the state playoffs with a group of kids that have learned a lot and also have some confidence behind it.
Coach, the game against Bonner, and it weren't sure for a while whether that was going to be, Devon Prep, Cardinal O'Hara, Bonner-Prendergast. It all came down to the last day there. But you kind of look at that path, that geographic quadrant of the Catholic League, right down the blue route there. You guys and O'Hara and Bonner and now Devon Prep in the league. No doubt competing for some of the same kids, educationally, athletically, etc., and seeing each other a lot. Some special games that you've played against those types of teams. Is there something to, hey, a Carroll Bonner rivalry type game in the first round?
Yeah. The another unique storyline is I coached Huss Kettner. His brother is over there, and I have a great relationship with Ty, their mother, and it's just one of those ones where there's a little bit more to it. There's kind of like a family element to it, and I just think that added to the rivalry, added to the whole, and there's other sports that these two teams have battled: football, baseball. I'm sure the crowd is going to be electric on Wednesday. So having kind of like a rivalry game to be your first, round playoff game, kind of just makes it that more exciting. So you got to be ready to go, and you got to ready to bring it. But again, do not allow so much of that emotion overtake you. And I think both sides know that it's just going to be a fun time.
And so you guys, again, very close to getting that 6th seed. But the beautiful thing about that 7th seed is that you get a home game, right? There's a comfort level to it. Obviously, you'd want the 6th seed, but what about your gym and what about your crowd could make this game real special?
Yeah, I don't want to put any jinx on our team, but I mean, we've had a successful home record. I think we've only had one loss at home. So that's kind of, a unique thing behind this. And I think home court advantage does play a part. Listen, there's some seasons that your home court might mean ain't nothing. But this year it has. We've had great crowds. There's a comfortability there. And like you said, and it's also with us being so young, maybe it's good to get a game, into this instead of like just going right into a top 4 game. You could look at it a million different ways. We played 3 games in 5 days last week. We played Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we had success. So maybe the recipe for us is play. Who knows? I mean, I'm trying to pull some things out here to figure this all out because that's how crazy this league is. And I'm trying to figure out what works for our guys since we are still so young and new.
Yeah, and you mentioned that, and being so young, so new. Who in particular has impressed you based upon their maturity and their ability to assimilate to what is the toughest league in the state and one of the toughest leagues in the country?
You know, we already spoke about Ian. I think a kind of an individual that kind of gets lost in the sauce, but makes plays if you really pay attention to is Rel Davis, our freshman guard. Rel, if you watch film, we put him on the best scorer, no matter what size, unless it's someone who's like 6'8", but like he is just. He has a knack to just find the ball, get his hands on the ball, disrupt, pick up 90 feet. And he's the Energizer Bunny. He never gets tired. And then, I mean, he's a pest to guard. I mean, he finds angles, finds ways to get the guys the ball, but also he can get to the basket himself. And if you actually speak to Rel, he is wise beyond his years. I haven't met a freshman. Not only he handles himself fantastically in the classroom, but he speaks and talks about stories so well that you're thinking you're talking to like an 80-year-old man. Like there's just something about Rel that has this like aura about him. And I just think that also leads to his game. I mean, he makes plays that he looks like he's a junior or senior, but then you look at the baby face and the 14-year-old frame, you're like, all right, he's definitely a freshman, but man, does he do some things that just shock you and you're kind of like, wow, like that was pretty awesome.
That's great. And then last one for you. So I don't know if hopefully everyone's healthy or most of you guys are feeling good, but the length that Munir can provide against some of the length that Bonner will throw out there.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Munir, same thing. Took some lumps, took some bumps, and he was fantastic against Father Judge. He's really kind of clicking at the right time. And another thing, and Bob, if you didn't know this, we didn't have Luka the first game against Bonner. He was out with a boot. So with Drew and Munir and Luka, we can hopefully match up with Bonner, who, by the way, I got to say, if you've been watching them the last 2 weeks, it's kind of one of those ones where it's 1 or 2 possessions and that's a win in their category. This is a game that we are definitely we are concerned about. They are senior laden. They have been right at the end, and those are kinds of groups that you're like, they're not going to quit. They're not going to give up, and they know this is their last. This is their last hurrah. So we're going to try to do everything we can strategically to match up and exploit some mismatches. But guys like Munir and Luka and Drew, they'll do everything they can to stop forces like Kettner and Rucker, who are pretty darn good.
It's going to be a great game. Thanks for helping us to prime it. Thanks for being our first guest here on the show. And yes, Bob Long Sports in the building on Wednesday night for that tip-off. So we're looking forward to it. Francis Bowe, the head coach of Archbishop Carroll, thanks for taking time to do this.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you.
Billy Cassidy is with us, the head coach of the Bonner-Prendergast Friars, the 10 seed in this year's Philadelphia Catholic League basketball playoffs. Billy, congrats on making the playoffs. This was a particularly difficult year to do that. Some really tough teams and some really good teams got left home this year. How does it feel to be playing into the postseason?
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, the goal was just to get in. Obviously, there were some games that we had on the table that, if we could have positioned ourselves better with a win in those games, you could possibly be playing for a home game or even a first round bye. So they were the goals at first, but, like I said, we're just happy to be in at this point. And now, new season begins.
The guard play has been really impressive for you guys this year, with Womack running the point, Rucker and Selden being able to certainly hit shots from the outside and get a paint touch where needed. Rucker, a great slasher to the basket. It must be fun coaching those guys on a week-to-week basis. What have those three in particular brought to the table?
Well, they're seniors, so they bring a lot of experience at the varsity level. And then, just with the AAU, constantly playing against a lot of these kids we're competing against throughout, the off season. Some are on the same team as some players that we play against. So I just think the overall experience is something that we're lucky to have. And then obviously we're going to be leaning on that this week, going against a young, super talented Archbishop Carroll team.
No doubt about it. And then the front court as well with Kettner. We can't go through the conversation without talking about what he brings to the table. It's a complete team in a lot of ways and a scary team for someone to see come playoff time. What does Kettner bring to your offense and your defense?
Right. Yeah, Deuce, I mean, he's very versatile on both ends of the floor. He can score in different ways, sneaky athletic. And then defensively, he's one of our best one-on-one defenders, and he has the ability to block some shots that always seem to give us some momentum in a game. So he's been tremendous. And same thing with Rucker. He's been great this year, and we're going to need them to continue to bring it as we go forward, along with the other guys we got.
You guys had a very backloaded schedule this year. Just look at the last weekend alone, where on back-to-back days you guys have Archbishop Ryan and then Newman-Goretti, both of which, by the way, you guys were in to the final whistle. Does that give you some confidence, I assume, going into the playoffs that, hey, we've taken every punch that the league can possibly give us, and here we are, and we're in every one of these games?
Yeah, this past week we did a lot of good things. I mean, we're playing well. Just in the Ryan Newman game, there was just moments where we didn't take full advantage of. But just continuing to try and learn and grow from that as fast as we can, heading into Wednesday.
And then one quick handicap or what you guys have seen on film in terms of this Archbishop Carroll team. Francis has done a great job with that group. Very young, you talked about that. And that is a storyline, is the veteran Bonner-Prendergast side against a team of freshmen and sophomores that are probably becoming kind of sophomore juniors at this point with a full season under their belt. But what do you guys see on your end, without giving away too many trade secrets, of course, but what are you guys looking for and looking to see out of Archbishop Carroll for Wednesday, and how do you guys adjust?
They like to play fast. They shoot a lot of threes, and they got downhill on us way too easy last time we played them. So that's definitely going to be something we're going to, be strategizing on, just making sure we're in the right positions and taking those challenges on, because they're guards. They're super quick, talented with the ball, and most of them can hit an open three and get to the basket. So that's what makes them a difficult team to play against, because they have 3-4 guys that can do that. So that's definitely defensively one of our biggest things we're looking forward to. And then offensively, I mean, like you said, Deuce is somebody that can be huge for us in that game, just matchup wise. And then, like I said, that experience, that senior leadership experience that we have, hopefully we can rattle off one of these games.
As dangerous a 10 seed as I can remember here in the Philadelphia Catholic League playoffs, Billy Cassidy, head coach of Bonner-Prendergast. I told Francis Bowe when we talked to him earlier today, but we're going to be in the building. Bob Long Sports is broadcasting the 7-10 matchup from Archbishop Carroll. So I'm looking forward to seeing you on Wednesday night and the rest of your Friars. Thanks for taking some time to do this with us.
Awesome. Appreciate it. See you on Wednesday.
You got it. Thanks to our first two coach guests, Billy Cassidy and Francis Bowe, for joining us. Will, we break down our first matchup here, and boy, is it interesting. Those coaches talked about it in our interviews, but young versus veteran. Archbishop Carroll, freshmen and sophomores. Bonner-Prendergast, seniors, guys that have been waiting for this moment. And I think it has the chance to be one heck of a ball game. Bonner, it's hard to say they've been playing their best basketball, Will, only because they racked up wins early and couldn't quite finish late. But when you have Archbishop Ryan and Newman-Goretti in consecutive days on the last weekend of the regular season, yeah, perhaps you can absolve a couple of losses there. By the way, they went to the wire with both of those teams. Bonner, I think, is a tough out for anybody, and we know how well Archbishop Carroll is playing, 8-2 in their last 10 games.
There's no doubt. And when I look back at that first game that Archbishop Carroll without Luka wins 66-62, the box score doesn't necessarily tell the story that you would expect. And what I mean by that is when you look at Archbishop Carroll, they are a guard-laden, smaller team that likes to shoot the three ball, right? Nasir likes to shoot the three ball. Ian likes to shoot the three ball. Darrell likes to get to the rim, but it's a team with shooters. But Archbishop Carroll, the team that we knew last year that was taking 33s a game at Father Judge, they took 8 threes that game. Now they were 4 for 8. They were efficient with their 3-point selection. But then a Bonner and Prendy that loves to slash and get to the rim, well, they took 12 threes that game. So is the game going to go the way that, we might think, or that we might stereotypically be like, hey, there's a bunch of guards that can shoot, and hey, here's a bunch of wings that can slash? Well, the first game didn't tell that story. So I'm really interested to see what this story tells.
Yeah, well, and to me, Bonner, certainly Kettner is a great presence, and they have a decent front court, no doubt about it. But for me, when I have seen Bonner play well, Will, it's because Reggie Selden is hitting shots, and Kevin Rucker is hitting a couple of threes and getting to a good spot, either for a pull-up or getting to the basket. Womack is that pure point guard. We're going to talk about a similar type of guy in Kavar Kennedy for Father Judge later in the show, right? That pure point guard, distribute first, but also unafraid to get into the weeds and in amongst the trees, finish through contact, and create double teams to create better offensive opportunities for his teammates. So, I love what Womack can do, and Bonner's playing its best when he's getting into the lane, getting a paint touch, and finding Reggie Selden and finding Kevin Rucker.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Kev Rucker is a guy that can explode for 30 or can just have 30, right? It's not out of the realm of possibility for him to just have 30, right? It's a normal game for him nowadays, which is insane to say. But again, looking back at that first game, it may have been Deuce Kettner's best game of his high school career. He has 25 points, 6 for 6 from the line, and 15 boards. And this isn't a loss, right? So what do they have to do differently? And look no farther than who you said, Reggie Selden, right? Pop Rucker has 20 points in that game. Deuce Kettner has 25 and 15. Beyond that, no one has more than 6, right? For Bonner to be at their best, Kyrie Womack needs to be good, and Reggie Selden needs to be good. And then if you can get something from a Kenny Gatling or someone of that nature, then that's a bonus. But you've got 4 guys that really need to show up for Bonner. And in that first game, they had 2 guys really show up. And, that's not to take anything away from like a Reggie Selden who was 3 for 6 from the field, didn't turn the ball over. It's not like he had an abysmal game. It's not like, oh my God, what happened? More so just you need a little bit more from a Kyrie Womack and a Reggie Selden, because you know what you're going to get from a Deuce Kettner. He's got the size advantage. Drew is a good center for Carroll, but Deuce is strong. He can play outside in a little bit more. He could probably win that matchup with Drew. It's going to be, can the other guard
Drew Corral? Yeah, absolutely. No, and this is one of those matchups where it's also going to determine who the winner will play. So if Bonner-Prendergast wins, the Catholic League does reseed. So Bonner-Prendergast, by virtue of being the 10 seed, if they advance, they would 100% draw Roman Catholic. if Archbishop Carroll wins the game, they 100% draw the 2 seed Newman-Goretti. But I want to take a moment to talk about what Billy Cassidy has done with Bonner-Prendergast. I know the wins and losses won't tell that story, but it has been a roster in rotation the last couple of years. You know, they had folks that weren't eligible for PIAA playoffs last year, and this year's group feels like it has a continuity to it. And you always want to play your best basketball at the end of the year, right? Lots of coaches say that. Again, we hinted at it at the top. The wins and losses haven't been there in the last couple of weeks for Bonner-Prendergast, but they are playing good basketball right now. There were 3 technical fouls at the end of the game against Newman-Goretti that maybe were the difference. You know, that Bonner-Prendergast led late in the fourth quarter. Archbishop Ryan had to come back to win that game against Bonner-Prendergast on Friday night. And again, you have the efficiency with the inside scores that you mentioned, right? In Deuce Kettner, you have Kyrie Womack, you have the 2 guards that can shoot it really, really well, Rucker and Selden. And I like this team. They're just in the wrong league if they want to be a if they wanted to have a bye or a home playoff game, they'd have a home playoff game in just about any other league in the state. And quite frankly, maybe a couple bounces of the ball and things are looking differently for them this year as well. You can say that for a lot of teams. It's how balanced this group is how balanced the league is. And I think it could lead to 2 phenomenal games on Wednesday and then 4 great games on Friday.
Yeah, and one last point about this game is if you're a subscriber to the Bob Long Sports YouTube page, which we certainly hope you are, and if not, click the subscribe button. But we've done a Bonner game this year, and it looked like they were one of the top teams in the league, and it's not that far out, or it's not that hard for them to look that good, right? They're the 10 seed, but on any given night, they can beat the team, right? If they're knocking down shots, if you're not pressuring them at the pickup point, if they have any space, right? You're not thinking of Bonner as a knockdown shooting team, right? Again, Pop Rucker getting to the rim is dangerous. Deuce Kettner getting to the rim is dangerous. But if you take a step back and if you're not on them at their pickup point, and if you don't have a hand on the 3-point line, man, they can kill you from 3 too. Mm-hmm. So they're a really high level team with guys that have played big time high school basketball. You said a couple guys weren't eligible last year for the PIAA state playoff. Well, those guys, they've got 2 Chester transfers, right? We know that Chester's played big time PIAA state playoff basketball. And then a Deuce Kettner, comes from a basketball family. And then a Reggie Selden, he came from somewhere in New Jersey. I'm blanking right now. But this is a guy that can score the basketball, has scored at so many levels. It's like when you look at those top 4, and this is no disrespect to a Kenny Gatling or Corey Francis, because those guys are, younger and haven't really been there. So I'm not saying that those guys can't step up and make it a big 5 or whatever you want to say. But when you look at that top 4, there's a lot of experience there. There's guys that know how to win and lose games, right? They know the difference between a win in the Catholic League and a loss in the Catholic League. And that sounds pretty obvious, like, oh yeah, one you walk away with a smile on the face and the one you don't. Well, no, it's those winning plays. It's that, 2 minutes left in the game, we need to win the possession. We need to get a stop, score, stop, or we need to score, stop, score, right? Those are those 3 possession moments that change a loss to a win and a win to a loss. It's the witching possession, if you will.
Yeah. And then while Archbishop Carroll may not have that experience, what a talented group of guys. And Francis Bowe is sitting there with a treasure chest in terms of talent that he hopes, is there for the next 3 to 4 years, because if these guys are, what an experience they're going to get here on Wednesday. If they play well and they have every opportunity to do so, they get a second game on Friday in that cauldron. And you tell me, if they go to Newman-Goretti, yes, it's a tough matchup, but Newman-Goretti, we'll talk to Andrew Bowman later in the show, some injuries, and Amir Williams just back for a couple of games. Who's to say that this group of young guys that doesn't know any better, couldn't go into South Philadelphia, as St. Joe's Prep did earlier this year, for example, and beat Newman-Goretti and earn a trip to the Palestra. I mean, Friday night at 9 o'clock p.m. is a long ways from right now, but Archbishop Carroll has the talent to hold serve at home with, again, Luca Foster and Veneer Gregg and Drew Corral on the inside, Nasir Rawls and, Rel Davis, which Francis Bowe was telling us about. Of course, Ian Williams, who's had a coming out party this year. Those three guys dotting the perimeter, and Davis great at slashing, really good on-ball defender, as Francis Bowe told us about. With those bigs inside, who's to say? Who's to say they can't hold serve and then shock the world on Friday night? And that's going to make Wednesday so much fun. Veteran against young, two coaches that know each other really well, have brought in some great talent to these schools, and it's the Battle of the Blue Route. I cannot wait.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one. And this is not an original quote by me, but I remember somebody earlier in the season saying, and I'm not 100% sure who it is, but Archbishop Carroll has the roster that they're going to get someone. They got Father Judge at the end of the year, but they have a team that they can explode, right? There's a lot of talent, right? If Ian Williams, Darrell Davis, and Nasir Rawls are all on the same game, and Luca is on the same game, I mean, Luca is a Huck Palmer dunk tracker waiting to happen, right? They're a fun team. When they are all, kind of rowing in the same direction, they're really scary.
Watch the game on Bob Long Sports, 6 o'clock p.m. on Wednesday. Be there. We'll now break down the 8-9 matchup in the Philadelphia Catholic League, Devon Prep and Cardinal O'Hara. Jason Fisher, the head coach of the Devon Prep Tide, is with us here today, earning yet another Philadelphia Catholic League playoff berth. Coach, by virtue of how you finished in the standings, you're also guaranteed a spot in the PIAA state playoff. So congrats on a great season to this point. What has driven the success of the Devon Prep program, this specific group of guys?
It's a great question. I guess it's the same thing that's driven us every year. I know it's a cliche, but we really just try and focus on getting better each day, and whatever happens kind of happens. This team's different than the ones in the past, and how they play, but they still have the same fundamental principles. And I guess that kind of, if you keep on working, this year we got some breaks that we didn't get last year. So we got lucky, and we have a home playoff game now, which I think I was trying to figure this out. I think we've made the playoffs 3 times. This is our 6th year, and I think we've had one other home playoff game. I think we played Carroll 2 years ago. So it's exciting.
I was at that Carroll game.
You are?
Yeah, and that was an exceptional game. Carroll had opportunity at the end, couldn't capitalize, but unbelievable atmosphere.
So ironically, we actually played Carroll. We were trying to figure this out last night. We played Carroll either the last regular season game or the game right before that, and then played them in the first round of the play. Very similar to what's happening now, where we played O'Hara yesterday and play them again on Wednesday. So it's pretty funny, but should be fun tomorrow night. Should be Wednesday night. Should be a great game. They do a good job. He's a really good coach, so I'm sure he'll make some changes, and we'll have to look at some things too. But I'm looking forward to it.
The recent entry into the Philadelphia Catholic League, it's been a great story how you guys have risen up. And I think one of the years you guys made the playoffs was in the COVID year, where only 4 teams made the playoff. And so that's, that was quite certainly an achievement at that point. And to come into this league, and you've been the only coach, I believe, since the program entered the Catholic League for the Tide, what has that process been like over the span of the last how many ever years?
We've always had the same principles. We've always tried to work on the same things, but it's I guess joining the Catholic League, the guys started to treat it differently. Like I mean, this is the greatest league in the state. I mean, I would argue it's a top 5 league in the country. So when you go and every single day you're playing against Division I players, great coaches, how you train just changes. Like not that they weren't training before, it's just you realize that you have to. There's no off nights. And so you prepare differently, and then you see a different result. And then the program has grown tremendously over the past five or 6 years because of that. Not taking away from anything from the guys when we were back in the BAL, but it's just different. It's different in how they approach everything. And you could say till you're blue in the face that you're going to be playing against grown men and great athletes, but until you actually get on the court and you see these, like you're next to Jalen Duran we played against him one of our first times in the league, and he like walked into our gym and didn't had to duck down, and the guys see him and it's like, oh my God, coach was right. Like there are the guys and future NBA player. I think he's leading the NBA in rebounding or something like that. And they didn't realize it. Like they didn't realize how good basketball really was. And now they do. And they're training different, like they're preparing differently for that. And we're not there yet. But they keep on getting better, and it's fun to be a part of.
And then something about preparation, preparing for the PCL season year in and year out, and how you do that with your non-conference. I think that I love the way that you guys scheduled your non-conference this year by challenging yourselves against the best of the West. And then we're going to play 4 District 12 games.
Yes.
Right? So we're going to play in hostile environments in the city, but also we're going to go out west and challenge ourselves against the Lincoln Park, a reigning 4A state champ, and North Catholic, a really, really good program that we all saw. They came into the Moscow, I guess, a year ago and challenged a really talented Archbishop Wood team. So I love that you guys went out west and then played some really good games here in Philadelphia. What about that non-conference schedule prepared you guys for PCL play?
We always try and find the best, trying to prepare for the Catholic League. Like you can't really truly prepare for it. So we try and find the best environment possible to prepare for it. So we went out to North Catholic a couple of years ago, and I love their program. They do a lot of good stuff. They're very well coached. And I guess we had an opening in our game, and I just literally took a flyer and I looked and I was like, who's the best team out in that area? And I called the Lincoln Park coach, who also is their AD, and I said, hey, do you want to play? And he's like, yeah, we have an opening. Can you play this game? And so that's kind of how all that started. And then I'm trying to find as many games in District 12 that I possibly can that will prepare us. And I think we had 4 of them this year. Would hope to get a couple more next year and play a couple other teams down there to help prepare us. But that was our thought process, is to try and play the best we possibly can to prepare us for the Catholic League. Going out to Pittsburgh, we don't really scout those teams. I know we know Lincoln Park, we know who they had, but we're trying to get ready for this part of our season now, where if we're lucky enough to win on Wednesday, we got a day off, and then we play Roman, I'm assuming it will be Roman, on Friday night. And so there's very little turnaround. So we go out there, play great teams. We actually play 3 days in a row out there, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, just to kind of get them used to what might be happening in the next couple of weeks.
Coach, there are great seasons and then there are great programs, and the difference between a great season and a great program is being able to build upon what was a great season. And so 2 years ago, you guys shocked some, probably not us necessarily, but you shocked some outside of the Catholic League by going and winning the 3A state title. And now you've built that where you went to the state quarterfinals last year. You have another team that could be ready to make a deep run. And of course, you have business to take care of here in the Catholic League. First, I have to think that junior and senior class, the upperclassmen that year, 2 years ago, started to instill those values. Of course, your coaching staff does as well, but in the freshmen and sophomores that are now juniors and seniors, the Zane Conlins, the Shane Doyles of the world, and more. Could you speak to that? I mean, do you feel like that junior and senior group, when you won the state title, were laying bricks for where Devon Prep is now and where it's going as a program?
That's a great question. As crazy as it sounds, the bricks were actually started with the classes before that class. They're the Eamon Walsh, the Chris Pattons, the Fred Rouleaus, like those classes really started to lay the foundation for where we are today. They were the first group that was in the Catholic League. Nick Crow, who went up to Scranton, he was on that first team in the Catholic League. Like those guys started the foundation of it. Didn't have the success that the teams now are having. But I mean, I guess I could argue that they had just as much success. They just didn't have the wins, really. They started the foundation, and then that group that won the state championship kind of put different pieces on that foundation. More along the basketball, like they were a little bit more skilled basketball. Not that Eamon and Chris weren't very skilled basketball players, but I guess there were just more skilled basketball players that we had. And then that led to the Jasons, the Lucases, and then that led to the group that we have now. And then, I mean, there's a group of freshmen and sophomores that are right behind them. And they're learning from these juniors. And it's taken a while to get the program where it is now. Like if you watch any of I know you guys watched some of our games this year, but we have 5, 6, maybe even 7 juniors that contribute, and we don't really have like next year, knock on wood, if everybody stays healthy and things go as projected, we'll have a senior class for the first time ever of 6 or 7 guys that contribute, which we've never had. Like we're a small school. Like we have 60 kids in a class, and that's the most we can have. So we've never really had that. We've always had those freshmen that come in and just play because we've never had the guys above them. But now we're at a point where we're, like I said, anything could change. I get it. But it looks like we'll have 6 or 7 juniors next year, or seniors next year, that will continue to pave the way. And if you want to crack into that lineup, you need to be really, really good at a lot of different areas. So it's exciting. It really is exciting. And I'd like you said, nobody expected us, to be hosting a Catholic League playoff game this year. We lost a lot last year, and for these guys to just continue to work and believe and to get an opportunity like they have on Wednesday night is I'm happy for them. It's exciting.
So something about your team this year that might be different than teams in the past is the forward play, right? Zane Conlon, Ben Costello, Reese Kraft, right? It's a team that has probably 3, generally known as 4s, right? What about that versatility that these guys can play the wing and play down low, all 3 of them can stretch the floor efficiently? What about them gives you a new look that maybe, I mean, Jason obviously could play, the 4 position, but he was really a wing.
Yeah.
And Lucas was really a wing. What about these 3 guys, 2 or 3 guys, whatever you want to dive into, gives you guys a new look?
We don't really have like an offensive or defensive philosophy as a program. It's kind of built around what the players that we have. And so 2 years ago, we had 5 guards that, I mean, I know we listed them as 6'2" or 6'3", but in reality, they were probably like 5'11", 6 foot. This year it's different. We have, Reese is 6'7", Zane 6'5", Ben 6'5". So we've changed how we play to take advantage of that. And I have to look at the final stats for the year, but I know we've out rebounded a lot of Catholic League opponents, which we would never have done before, ever. Like, just not that we weren't trying to. It's just when you have 6'1" guys out there, it's tough to rebound. So we got a lot of second chance points. Our offense kind of changed to take advantage of the fact that those guys could play, like, legitimately play inside and play outside. So we did make some changes this year, and if you watched our game yesterday, they did a really good job, like, taking away things inside. And now we can adjust back and do things a little bit differently, or go back and continue to try that if they make changes. So it just gives us a lot more flexibility as far as attacking other teams. Having, they're bigger than what we normally have. I don't know if they're considered big in the Catholic League, but they're going to be big when we get out into the PIA playoffs for sure. So it definitely is a little bit different than in the past, which is nice.
Last one for you, and we appreciate the time you're spending with us here, Jason Fisher, head coach of Devon Prep. The home experience, the home court advantage that you guys have, and Will was telling me about this, like, your first or second year in the Catholic League, about how good it is, and you got to get over to Devon Prep for a game. Now I've been there multiple times for games. Your student section brings it. It's a homey venue. You got folks on the stage. What's a home playoff game, and what is that atmosphere going to be like Wednesday?
So like I said, we've only hosted one before, and it was the Carroll game, and it was absolutely insane. The floor was sweating, the walls were sweating. There were people all over the place. We've we've got to the point where our PCL regular season games sell out. So I can't imagine what that's going to be like on Wednesday night. It's just an atmosphere that it's hard to explain. They've asked me many times if I wanted a bigger gym here, and I always say I'm very happy with the gym that we have. But if you want to, if one happens to show up on campus, we'll take it. But it fits 350 people, and there'll be 350 people here on Wednesday night for sure. So I actually don't know how many people O'Hara travels with. I would imagine they travel very, very heavy for playoff games. So I'm looking forward to having great student sections on both sides and great basketball game.
Yeah, it should be fun. And, it's not too far for Cardinal O'Hara to drive either. So
it's very close, right down the street.
that makes it fun.
Yes.
Well, best of luck. We'll be watching along on Wednesday. And thanks for being part of our preview show.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Matt McGowan, Cardinal O'Hara assistant, is with us here today to help us with our playoff preview show. And we appreciate you being on. Congrats on a great season to this point and an opportunity to compete in the postseason. How are you guys feeling about the opportunity?
We're feeling great. Obviously, in the postseason, records don't really matter. So it's something where you just got to play who's in front of you. And we're just hoping to hopefully get to where the Palestra is. So just take it by game.
And where that starts, talk about the opportunity and who's in front of you. That's Devon Prep, a team that you saw on Sunday, a couple of days ago. And to see that team again will be an interesting back-to-back. What did you see on Sunday from Devon Prep? What did you guys do well? I know it was an overtime loss, but what will be the difference on Wednesday night?
It's just we shot 3 for 20, 22, I think, on 3. So we didn't do a good job shooting threes. We shot 50% from the line too. So hopefully the next game that's something that we're going to get a lot of shots up at practice, but that's something that we know and we're confident that's not going to happen again. So there's just adjustments we have to make, also defensively too, and rebounding the ball. So there's a lot of stuff that we could do better at for a better outcome on Wednesday.
It's a talented group, and to be coached by a legend like Fran O'Hanlon, what a unique experience for those young men at the high school level to be taught by a 20-plus year coach from the Division I college level. What has Fran brought to the Cardinal O'Hara program this year?
Just a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience. Just even me being an assistant, like I'm learning a lot from him. I'm learning a lot of X's and O's. I'm learning like a lot from someone that's been around for a while. A lot of stories. Just learning a lot. The kids are learning a lot too about how to like move without the ball. Like normally, like in AAU or like some high school programs, like kids like to wait for the ball or not move without the ball, but it's just something I'm learning from him.
That's great. And then in terms of some of the talent, you have a very talented roster, but Flash Burton jumps off the page, is 23 points per contest, one of the league leaders in points scored. What makes him special and what makes him the engine that makes Cardinal O'Hara go?
Flash is a special. He's a very special player. I've been coaching him for probably like a year now with AAU with East Coast Power. But it's something that I never seen a kid that can heat up like him as quickly as he can. So he's leading us to where we are, but he's a very special talent. And I'm excited for the stuff that he's going to do at Ryder too.
No doubt about that. And so he leads the way, and every night the opposing team's best defender is going to be on Flash. And there are some other tremendous players in the Philadelphia Catholic League. What do you think Flash's experience this year has been like? Certainly he sizes up with everyone and anyone in the league from an individual standpoint. How has he managed being the focal point for the opposing defense every game all year long?
I mean, it's definitely something that it's it, being so special and being so good at that age, you have to face double teams all the time. Like he's getting every time he picks up the ball, he's just getting doubled. So it's something that just understanding your teammates, like Pierce McWin and our other guys that are truly stepping up too. But it's just something that it's just getting adjusted to doubles, getting adjusted to trusting your teammates. But he's doing a good job at that.
Pierce is so interesting. I'm glad you brought him up because his ability and his skill set to stretch the floor, can make life very, very difficult. Yeah, he can get inside, no doubt about it. He's got the frame to do so, but to step back and create all type of defensive mismatches from what he can do, putting the ball on the floor, a willing passer, and obviously a very good shooter, gives you that great 1-2 punch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Pierce is a kid that I'm excited for him in college. I'm excited for him now, but in college he's going to be very special. A big like that being 6'7", that can really shoot it like that. But they can also rebound the ball. He rebounds the ball very, very well. He's a very special talent, and having those two, Flash and Pierce, together is great.
What will the matchup be like? It's funny, the 4 teams that are in the 7 to 10 first round matchups here are it's basically the Blue Route schools here in the Philadelphia Catholic League, the schools
Mm-hmm.
right down the Blue Route. And obviously you have to go just right down the road with Devon Prep, becoming a nice rivalry here in this league. What do you expect that venue and that environment to be like on Wednesday?
Devon Prep always brings out good fans. Yesterday it was pretty packed. So for a playoff game, I'm expecting it to be a lot more packed, but I'm expecting our fans and stuff to come out too to show support. So it's definitely gonna be a hostile environment, but it's stuff like that you got to thrive in, and it's stuff like that like our kids feed off of. So I'm excited for it. The more people that come out, the more excited the coaches and the kids get. So
No doubt about it. Matt McGowan with us from Cardinal O'Hara, an assistant with that program. You talked about the Palestra, so I'll say it: 2 games away, 2 wins away from the Palestra, and there's a lot of teams that in this league, really all 10, that have the capability to get there. It's who's going to play the best on Wednesday night, and then again on Friday night. I wish you guys the best. It's really nice to talk with you, and I'm sure we'll see you down the road. Cardinal O'Hara had Devon Prep right where they wanted them. A win on the last day of the regular season, and the Lions would have been hosting a playoff game. And actually, they would have hosted Bonner-Prendergast based upon the head-to-head tiebreaker between Bonner and Devon. But as it turns out, Devon Prep gets an overtime win, Will, and we do it again. We're going to run it back at Devon Prep as they take on Cardinal O'Hara. This should be a really, really good game. Devon Prep, the only team in the Philadelphia Catholic League all ready to secure its PIAA playoff berth in the 3A. They'd look to win their second state title in 3 years. But this is a Philadelphia Catholic League preview show, not a PIAA preview show. We'll have a lot of time to talk about the Tide. Early thoughts on this marquee matchup on Wednesday night?
Yeah, absolutely. Josh Verlin had the coverage for their game on February 11th, the last game of the year on Super Bowl Sunday. And absolutely, this Devon Prep team and Cardinal O'Hara team are really, very close in both talent, execution, how they win games, right? Obviously, they're the 8 and 9 seed. It's not, breaking news that these teams are pretty tight in terms of the standings and in terms of everything about them. This Devon Prep team has been playing good basketball towards the end of the season. And I think that they lost 3 of their last 4, but when I look at it, they lose at Father Judge by 5. I mean, man, like you can't really fault them for that. They lose to Wood by 12, but you hold Wood to 63 points.
They're the only team that's done that.
Right? We're going to talk to John Moscow later, and this Archbishop Wood team is 2 points away from the century, or 4 points away from the century mark on multiple occasions.
Mm-hmm.
But Devon Prep
in a 32-minute basketball game. Yeah.
But Devon plays their style, but then the next game they let up 92, but score 83. So it's like this team can be in games by playing their slow down pace, right? We're only going to drive and kick and pump fake and then drive and kick and pump fake. But we can also get up and down with a Newman-Goretti. So it's like they can win games or at least be tight in games in multiple ways. And then they beat a Conwell Egan 81-64. So we can put points on the board. There's no doubt about it, but we can also play a slowed down pace. So I'm really looking.
And I haven't seen a ton of that slow down pace this year. Like they really like to run their stuff and they're confident in it, and they just out execute teams.
Yep.
And any weakness that you have defensively, Devon Prep's going to be the team to take advantage of it. And that's a credit to Jason Fisher and how he's gotten these guys to buy in. This is no fluke. This is not one class of Alan Cieslak and Lucas Orchard, the junior, and oh gosh, there were several others. Jason Holloway, that's one I was missing, right? This is not some fluke of just that class because there's so many talented guys. Zane Conlon leads the team in scoring. Reese Kraft provides some really good length. Thier and Doyle, and this is a really fun team to watch. And 2 years ago, Will, I broadcast the state final when Devon Prep, quite frankly, hammered their opponent. And I left that game thinking that was actually the most impressive team that I saw all weekend. Not necessarily that was going to be the team that would have beaten the 6A champs, for example, or beaten Imhotep, but in terms of the purity of basketball and ball movement and paint touch to kick out, clearing out for their best players, getting to the rim. It was just wonderful execution. And that's another one of those teams where, hey, you're playing your best basketball at the end of the year. Their schedule was backloaded in terms of challenge, but they are playing their best basketball right now. When they played at Newman-Goretti, they had the Saints on the ropes in South Philadelphia. That doesn't happen very often. And this is a team that, when I've seen them play, they get up and down the floor and they run. Now you see the final score of the Cardinal O'Hara game from Sunday. That was a dogfight. That was a rock fight. But I really like this. I really like this team, and I think 3A, when it does get to PIAA playoff time, has to watch out because they won't blow you away with their above the rim play, but they will out execute almost any team in the state.
Yes, and their unselfishness and their commitment to their style of play. Again, I don't want to keep bringing up teams playing against LaSalle, but those are the games on Bob Long Sports Network, right? So if you want to go back and watch some film on a team, when they played LaSalle College High School, 27 made baskets, 21 assists, right? And that's not out of the normal for this Devon Prep team. It's not like, whoa, this is a tremendous display of unselfishness. No, it feels normal for this Devon Prep team. This is how they play, right? When you get into the lane, it's not like you're so much looking to score as you're looking to kick out to your teammate, right? It's an assist is just as important as a made bucket. And Shane Doyle, a guy that I don't necessarily look at as a point guard, but that style of play, he had 8 assists that game, right? So on any given night, it could be somebody's day, right? Smith was 8 for 9 from 3 in that LaSalle game earlier this year. So they got guys that can knock down shots. But then when you have Zane Conlon and Reese Kraft, it's almost like you're running 2 4s out there, right? Because Zane Conlon is undersized as a 5, but he's really skilled. He can get the ball in the perimeter, got kind of that slow pump fake that he's going to then try to get you on his hip and kind of back you down. And a Reese Kraft is real skilled as well. He's a little bit more willing to shoot the 3 ball than Conlon is, but both of them, if open, you can't be in drop coverage on them, right? And they're not so much a ball screen team. They're more, catch and drive. But if they were a ball screen team, it would cause a disaster in ball screen coverage because both guys can pop so easily, and both guys are really, really comfortable in that mid-range area, right? If they can get the ball at the free throw line, you're in trouble against the Zane Conlon because he's so smart and he's been playing. Like, I remember he was playing at the PWB going into his freshman year, right? He wasn't necessarily getting the minutes when the season came around, but this guy has played high-level basketball for a while. And I'm really looking forward to seeing, what this Devon Prep team can do against the Cardinal O'Hara team that it feels like they've been finding their feet more and more towards the end of the season.
So the Cardinal O'Hara Lions, then, led by head coach Fran O'Hanlon, the legendary Lafayette longtime head coach Fran O'Hanlon, definitely has a cupboard that is not empty. Asim Burton is a very, very talented guard. He leads the way, Will, and what stands out about him?
Well, his nickname's Flash, and that is
for a reason.
Yeah. I mean, my God, the kid is really shifty. He's really good in the pull-up mid-range game. He can knock down a three, and he can drive right by you. So he's one of the more impressive players. I mean, I remember even on that Isaiah Pasha team, right? It was not Isaiah Pasha and then Asim Burton. It was Isaiah Pasha and Asim Burton, right? Asim Burton, sorry, excuse me. But Flash he's a tremendous player. There's a reason why he's playing Division I basketball at Rider next year. He's a special talent. There's no doubt.
And the other guy, then, I mean, certainly he's the only guy above 20. There's only one other player scoring above 10 per game, and that's Pierce McGuinn. But he can score. Don't just look at his size and height and think, all right, this is a guy who's only going to score down low. Really good in the high ball screen action. Yes, he can get into the post, but he'll also shoot it from mid-range and shoot it from deep, and kind of that Robin to Burton's Batman. I guess we really should go with the Flash Gordon analogy if we're going to go with the Marvel superhero type thing. But, Robin to the Batman, if you will.
And there's no doubt. And Pierce McGuinn is really, really skilled on the inside for a guy that probably listed at 6'6", maybe 6'7", if I had to guess. He's a Division I basketball player, and he's a 4 or a 5, right? There's a reason why he's playing Division I basketball as a 6'6" or 6'7", 4/5. Number one, he can stretch the floor. A game that I decided to go back and look at a little bit was their battle against St. Joe's Prep, right? St. Joe's Prep is a team that we all consider one of the best teams in the league. Well, Cardinal O'Hara only lost by 5. So very clearly, this team can play with the best. And in that game, Pierce McGuinn 6 for 8 from the field, but 3 for 4 from 3, right? He's not going to jack them up, right? It's when he's open, when the ball screen coverage says that, he can pop out, he's able to knock it down. But inside, really good with his left hand, really good with his right hand, can go both ways. I mean, just a very good post player. He's a good rebounder. He's a really solid high school big man. There's no other way to put it.
Yep, you're absolutely right. And so what's one key matchup about either of those two guys or someone we haven't mentioned yet from Cardinal O'Hara against Devon Prep that intrigues you?
I'm looking for it's going to be with one of those two guys, and it's going to be the Pierce McGuinn, whether it'll be Zane I think Pierce McGuinn and Zane Conlon match up really well. I mean, it's going to be a fun time because both of those guys now, Pierce uses his athleticism. Like, Pierce can get to the rim, get up towards the rim. Zane Conlon is a real strong athletic kid, but Zane is a little bit more methodical with the pump fake, right? He wants to get you off your feet, go into the body a little bit, or go around the body. So between Pierce and Zane, I want to say Pierce probably has an inch or two on Zane. Yeah. I think Zane might be in the same weight class, or if not a stronger weight class. So I think, in terms of the tail of the tape, it's pretty balanced, right? And but their style of play isn't as, like, Pierce uses his athleticism a little bit more than Zane is like, you are going to jump eventually. And when you do jump, you're
Eric
gonna pay.
Dixon.
Yeah,
Eric Dixon.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. The righty version of Eric Dixon, right?
That's right. That's right. Although, you know what? He can finish with his left really well.
Oh, he most certainly can.
And Dixon doesn't always finish well with his right. But that's another podcast.
No, against Seton Hall, he got to his right hook
There
one
you go.
time, and I was like, wait a minute.
Who is that? Who is that guy? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man.
But no, big
but
fan
I think
of
that's gonna be a
Zane
great
Conlon's. Big fan of Zane Conlon's game. He came in a couple of years ago, and so we talked a little bit earlier in the segment about that senior class for Devon Prep, that at least the junior and senior class when they won the state title and put themselves on the map here in the Catholic League, and everyone knew that they had to pay attention to Devon Prep going forward. There's a group of juniors and seniors now that were freshmen and sophomores on that team, and Zane Conlon is one of them, who's now one of those leaders. Yeah, I think that's a great call in terms of the matchup to watch. And then how about two of the best brains in the Philadelphia Catholic League? Fran O'Hanlon needs absolutely no introduction, or nobody to pad his resume. He let's call it what it is. There may be no coach, probably isn't a coach in the Catholic League with better pedigree than him. And then Jason Fisher, who has meticulously and consistently proven that he can coach in this league and on any given night can outcoach anybody. That's going to be really fun, that chess match.
Yes. And Coach Fisher is a guy that, right, we talked about that junior / senior / Ty Mishok was on that team. Ty Mishok transfers out, right? So Ty Mishok would be a senior this year. So you're looking at this team, you're like, okay, no Lucas Orchard. He's a Division I caliber basketball player. I want to say he's doing a PG year, then going to Monmouth. So an actual Division I basketball player. Jason Holloway went to Army, Division I basketball player, gone. And then Ivy Pettit and Alan Sislak was, the year before. But both of those guys, were, high level college basketball players. Ty Mishok was one of the better point guards. I mean, he was a 3-year starter for this Devon Prep team. So you're like, okay, you feel like Devon's lost a lot. Are they even going to be a playoff team? What do you know? They get into the playoffs, and it shouldn't be a shocker to us, right? We talk about the great coaches of the Catholic League, the guys that know how to win. Well, Coach Fisher has set up, they're a program. They are a culture. They have standards, and they play their way. It feels like it doesn't matter. We talked about they could slow it down or they could go high pace, but they play their way no matter what.
Yes.
No matter if they're trying to run in transition, they're still going to be kicking out to shooters, and they're still going to be playing off 2 feet. And on the defensive end, they're still going to be taking charges, right?
Yeah. Let me adjust what I'm saying. When I said they play high tempo, I don't mean they're running down the floor and getting in transition. I just mean they cut with some of the most vigor and purpose of any team in the league, and they're not kind of getting into their set. Something doesn't work and they pull it back to midcourt and hold the ball for 7 seconds and get back into some offensive set. It's constant motion. It's all in the half court by and large, but that half court offense is run like a half court offense if there was a 30-second shot clock. That's what I mean when I say playing with pace and tempo and purpose.
Yeah, no doubt. But as you said, they're playing to their standards no matter what, right? No matter if they get a cut early in not the shot clock, but early in the possession, or they get a cut, 20 seconds into the possession, it's the same offense, right? Yep. They play to their standards every time. It's always going to be a good back cut.
No doubt.
Remember, Lucas Orchard back in the day, now obviously he's not on this team anymore. Lucas Orchard made a living on back cuts. The guy averaged 18 a game one year on back cuts and driving right. And now he can knock down a shot. But if you play within Coach Fisher's offense, you're going to get opportunities to score. Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember even this year, you got a Reese Kraft could go for 17, a Zane Conlon could go for 17, Shane Doyle, if he's on, could go for 15. Smith against LaSalle had 24. I mean, it's great balance. It's a team effort every single time. And
this is going to be,
Devon.
It's going to be a great game because you contrast that with everything Cardinal O'Hara has done with those two guys that are averaging a combined 35 points, McGuinn and Burton, and some of the other, there are guys on the back half of that rotation that score 7, 8, 9 points per game. Cardinal O'Hara's offense has been really, really good. They gave up a lot of points to Archbishop Wood a couple weeks ago, but they were scoring kind of possession for possession with them after trailing early and never able to make up that amount. But make no mistake, Cardinal O'Hara can score, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a markedly different game than the overtime game where nobody got to 60 on Sunday. And that's the beauty of it, is you roll the ball out next time, 32 minutes of basketball or more. It could be an entirely different game, but we can hope it's only as competitive as that overtime game on Sunday that drew this exact same matchup on Wednesday night. That game can be found exclusively on the NFHS network through Devon Prep's Pixelot Cam. So we're all prepped for both play-in matchups. Devon Prep against Cardinal O'Hara, and then, of course, we just talked about Archbishop Carroll hosting Bonner-Prendergast. The latter of those games that we are talking about here, Archbishop Carroll and Bonner, will be on Bob Long Sports. So now let's move to the quarterfinal round.
Welcome to the Cathedral of College Basketball that opens its doors just twice a year to the high school ranks. Boy, just witnesses, two of us here, to what will be a spectacular atmosphere. Us and about 9,000 of our closest friends. That is no good. 5 seconds left. Xavier Brown. This is for the tie.
Unbelievable.
And we are going to overtime.
They can't believe it.
This is Catholic League basketball.
This is why this place is special, Bob.
Newman-Goretti, one final heave, and the hubcap is coming back to Broad and Vine. Philadelphia Catholic League champions. And they can't keep the students off the floor. A joyous celebration on the center of the Palestra floor.
Next up on the Philadelphia Catholic League playoff preview show is the head coach of the third-seeded Archbishop Wood Vikings, one of our favorites here in the PCL, John Mosco, with us. John, congratulations on another great season, a team that came in with a lot of promise, two of the best guards anywhere in Pennsylvania in Jaleel Bethea and Josh Reed. What has led to your success and, not only another first round bye, but a home playoff game yet again?
Thanks, Bob. Thanks for having me. I think, we challenged them with a hard non-league schedule. Might have been a little too hard. I think, we started getting our confidence playing together a lot better, and Jaleel settled down. Especially after we went to the Hall of Fame and he had a great game and made the McDonald's game, and he's just been doing everything, playmaking, and scoring. So when he's calm, it makes it a lot easier for everybody else.
You lost some pieces, and I know we're at the end of the next season already, but one of the holes, I guess some may say, is the lack of a true big. And the guy that I think had to step up, really both of them in Bethea and Reed, but Reed's ability to play on the inside, even, given his size, he's unafraid to mix it up. It feels like he has been a real key, grabbing offensive and defensive boards, getting to the center of the zone and kind of running the offense from there at times. What has Josh Reed's impact been?
Josh really stepped up. He's a true senior now, and he's playing with that confidence. And as the year went on, he's not just playing as second fiddle to Jaleel. He's playing Josh Reed basketball. He's a powerful guard, scores inside and rebounds. He's averaging close to double every game. with rebounds, and he just, he's matured and he's just playing and he's taking on the leadership role along with Jalil. And he's helped us on the rebound with us being small, but him and Milan Dean, they play, they could play multiple positions, and especially in high school, they could play a 5 and guard them. And, we have 2 real 5s in our league, Thomas and Jackson. So our league isn't like really huge, but we have the guys that could guard them, hopefully, if we see them down the road.
So, Coach, on January 11th, you guys play Newman-Goretti at home, lose by 22. Since then, you've won 9 straight games, including that tough one up in Springfield. You put up 96 against Archbishop Carroll. You put up 96 against Monsignor Bonner, 92 against Conwell Egan, right? It feels like a switch was flipped after that game against Newman-Goretti. What changed?
Well, we talked about, the way everybody's going to guard Jalil and how Jalil has to play. Everything goes around Jalil. And he, like I said, he calmed down and he started taking what everybody was giving him and working off of that. A lot of teams want to play him physical with a small guard and get under him. And, we just talked about, you got to keep moving. You can't just catch the ball and let them get under you, and you got to be ready to catch and shoot. And he went to Springfield and he had a 40-point game against Corona from California. And I think everybody started to realize that they could play together and share the ball, and he's got to be a focal point, and he does everything for us, and it just woke out.
It's funny, Coach, speaking of Springfield, I think that that's the most common city name or town name in all the United States. You also played a game in Springfield against Cardinal O'Hara, and I shot you a text later that night saying, hey, I thought it was as good as your offense has looked. And to Will's point, that has only continued. Now, when you think about hosting a playoff game, and we expect it'll be against Father Judge, playing against Chris. He knows you guys as well as anybody. So being on a roll the way you are and running into a former assistant, what will that be like?
It'll be tough, especially with a chance to go to the Palestra for both teams. And that's where he's trying to get his program to. It's similar to what I had to do against Newman-Goretti with Carl Argyle when I first took over Wood, but we didn't get a chance to play them until it wasn't a shot to get the Palestra. It was at the Palestra in the championship game. So it wasn't, It's a little different, but I understand what Chris has gone through and what Carl went through. So I've been on both sides. We just have to worry about ourselves. It's not me and Chris going out there playing, thank God, because I don't think you'd get any viewers watching that. But
I don't know. I mean,
we have to worry. It depends on what type of game we're playing. But me and Chris, but I think we have to worry about ourselves, execute what we do best on offense, and continue to keep guarding. We can put up numbers, but if we don't guard, we could lose every game we play. I tell them that we're good enough to beat anybody, but we're also bad enough defensively to lose to anybody. I know that sounds like coach speak, but we have to, if we guard and we play every possession like it's the last, and we'll have a chance at the end of the game, because we do have Jalil and Josh that are big time scorers.
And Josh Reed, a guy who's going to Drexel, and I can't help but think the way that he plays off two in the paint, right? Every time he gets to the paint, finishing strong off two, similar to a guard that you had who also played Philadelphia college basketball. Obviously a different style player, but just can you talk a little bit about how Josh and how strong he is in the paint? Finishing through contact, being able to kick out to a guy like Jalil or Deuce or Milan, whatever it might be. But like Josh Reed is a really important, almost point guard like piece for you guys.
Yes, he's a big time piece, and you see what happens. We were very fortunate this year with injuries. Newman-Goretti, Roman Catholic, but they're the cream of the crop and they keep winning, even though they had injuries. But we were fortunate. But Josh Reed is a big piece because he does so much. He guards, he plays defense, he rebounds offensively and defensively, and he gets in the paint. And for a high school player, like you said, coming off 2 feet, he's just so strong and he's able to score. And now he's shooting the ball a lot better that people have to respect his shot. So he, without him, we wouldn't be finishing third. So he's a good Robin to Jalil's Batman.
When you think about, John, this game and what the Palestra means, you could encapsulate a ton of meaning into just that. Of course, with the advent of the PIAA playoffs, which started here for Catholic League teams 15 years ago, that's also a concern. You're playing a Father Judge team that is another 6A team. A win here from Father Judge, I don't know if it would by points catapult them ahead of you guys in terms of postseason qualifications, but it certainly wouldn't help. In my mind, this is the deepest that 6A has been in my memory of having 4 teams that are good enough to win a state championship. That's you guys, that's Roman Catholic, that's St. Joe's Prep, and that's Father Judge. And the real travesty of it all is that only 2 of them will have the opportunity to play in the PIAA. I'm sure it's not something you're thinking about. You're thinking of 32 minutes against Judge and how you can beat them. But care to offer a thought on that dynamic this season, the 4 talented 6A teams, and how that's going to flesh itself out one way or the other?
So I'm going to steal a line from Carl is, I don't worry about the states, worry about winning the game in front of you and worried about winning the Catholic League, and then you get invited to the states. But it is the deepest 4A has been, where 2 teams are going to be 2 of the better teams in the state, and they're going to be left home. Eventually, I think Ryan and Imhotep are moving up to 6A. That's what the PIAA. That's what the PIAA wants. They want all District 12 and 6A. So we beat up on each other and don't win anything. Don't win all the state championships.
Right.
But we don't control that. We could just control we do. And first we got to beat Judge to get there. And if we beat Judge, it looks good for us, and whoever else. Yeah. But
right. You were in that same situation last year, Coach. I mean, you guys were on the winning end, but
against
Jason's team, St. Joe's Prep, was also good enough to win the whole thing if they had gotten in. They had to travel to you guys in Warminster, and again, not that the home floor advantage is the difference there, but you guys have a great atmosphere and a really hard place to play. And for St. Joe's, it was win or go home, not just in Catholic League. And so, yes, it's the same type of situation.
Chris's team's a little similar. Chris and Carroll are a little similar to the Prep last year. They were young. They were all sophomores. So this being their first time, I think we have an advantage of being there, being at the Palestra, and playing at home. So it helps. And, our goals every year is to finish in the top 2 or 3 to get a home playoff game, then get to the Palestra, hopefully cut the nets down, and then get to the states. I can speak for myself, and hopefully I think it's majority of the coaches, they rather cut down the nets than go to Hershey. The Catholic League means so much to every player around here. You see the Palestra sold out on a Wednesday night when there's 2 or 3 other college games going on. Then the Palestra sold out on a Monday night for the boys and girls doubleheader. So, the support and the fans that come to all the games, they see great performances by these kids under the big lights. It's something special.
So, Coach, just to conclude, February 16th, Father Judge in Warminster. The crowd is going to be electric regardless, right? I mean, I remember last year you couldn't buy a ticket at the door against St. Joe's Prep. So it's not like you need to advertise this game anything more than just saying Father Judge, Archbishop Wood, quarterfinals of the PCL playoffs. But if you did have to advertise,
Chris Rowntree versus John Moscow as well on the sidelines.
Yes, exactly. But if you did have to advertise to, some students at Archbishop Wood or some alum at Archbishop Wood, whoever it may be, why should people come out to this game?
Chance to go to the Mecca, to go play at the cathedral at the Palestra, and to continue our one team is going to be left home. You start in September, workouts and all that. It's one team. It's all for the marbles. One game to see who winner goes on, winner stays home. If you can't come see that, and the only problem I have with Fridays is there's 4 great games, and the average fan that's not an alumnus or part of the school, they got to try to pick which game to go to. You got Prep, you have Prep and Ryan, which is contrasting styles. You have, probably going to be Newman, and it could be Newman and Carroll or Newman and Judge and Roman and O'Hara. I mean, O'Hara has 2 Division I players, and they're playing in the 7-10 game. So the league is so deep. There's not Friday night. Anybody, you get a phone call, anybody could win the game. So, it would be wonder what we do if we moved the quarterfinals to the Palestra. I know it's too much money, but if you had 4 games at the Palestra and all the schools could get there, it'd be something special.
It would be. And you're right. It's so tough to choose which game you want to go see, John. We had to make that choice. Bob Long Sports, and guess where we decided?
You should expand your Bob Long and make 4 years and go all 4 games.
I know. I wish, man. I wish. That's next.
Yeah.
But I can tell you where we chose to go, and thanks to your hospitality, we're coming to Warminster on Friday night. And we're looking forward to it.
You're always welcome. You guys do a great job, even though my guy Will went to LaSalle. I haven't seen him in a while, but it was great seeing him today. And maybe are you going to make the trip, Will?
I am not, unfortunately. No, Friday night I'll still be in Boston, but I've been on the road a little bit. Just got back from Cameron Indoor yesterday, tough loss, but really cool to play Duke yesterday. So
isn't that a great place?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Like, really no words. Way that like super high academic school can pack into a stadium an hour and a half before the games and like do research on the teams, it's unbelievable. And be loud. Yeah.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to go see Tommy Funk play there when he was at Army against Zion Williamson. So it was a special place.
That's great. John, thanks for spending some time with us on the preview show, and we will see you Friday night.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for all you do for the league. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Coach.
We're here with Chris Rowntree, the head coach of Father Judge Crusaders, and your seed is now set. You are the 6th seed. You get the first round bye. You're going on the road to Archbishop Wood. How does that feel?
Yeah. So, I mean, it feels great just to be in a quarterfinal game. And, we've talked all year about one chance to get to the Palestra, whether it be at home or on the road, whatever it is. But one's a lot better than 2 chances, right? And we know it's going to be a tough environment on Friday night. They got a bunch of seniors. John does a great job. They got us earlier in the year. So, they're playoff ready, and, we're going to go and take our shot.
And to go against John, a guy who you coached under for so long, I know, like it or not, it's a storyline going into Friday night. You've seen him, 3-4 times. This will have a little bit of a different feel to it.
This definitely will have a little bit of a different feel. We're 0-3 against them. They got us early in the year. I thought we played well for the first half last year, maybe even this year for the first 24 minutes, and then they got on one of their patented runs. But he does a great job. He's one of my best friends. He was in my wedding. We know each other. We talk once a week. So, yeah, it's going to have a little bit different feel. But, we just got to get ready and take our chance. So nobody expects us to go in there and beat them. We just got to believe in ourselves, the 14 guys in our room, and go and take our shot.
And then this game here, preparing you for that. Listen, it's a tough road in the Catholic League. Very few teams are going to go through the whole year and lose a game or two. It's a season of runs, but now you can turn your attention to the playoffs. What did you learn about your team today coming back in the fourth quarter to secure that bye?
Yeah, I think two things. I think we stuck together today. I think, our last couple losses, we didn't stick together as much, and I think we stuck together. And then a word that I've used a lot, specifically with number 5 sitting there next to you, is composure. How we keep our composure. And, he did a great job keeping his composure. Rocco gave us a couple big shots tonight, but everybody kept their composure. And it could have gone south when LaSalle made a big run in the third quarter, and we just stuck together. We were composed, and we just hung in there.
We'll let you go. We'll talk to Kavar for 1 minute, and we'll get him back to your huddle as quickly as we can. Kavar Kennedy, wow, what a contest for you. You really took over when the chips were down, when LaSalle had the lead, and specifically when you needed to either get to the bucket, draw contact, or make that key assist. Walk me through that fourth quarter and overtime.
I mean, that fourth quarter overtime, was really my teammates. They gave me the confidence. After the 2 turnovers back-to-back, I kind of got down on myself, but they kept me up. And then Rocco, he hit that shot to send the OT. And then from there, just like it's 0-0. So I had to keep my head and get back into it and keep my team solid so we can win the game.
So now you turn your attention to the Catholic League playoffs, and by virtue of this win, you get the bye. We were just talking about it with your head coach, Chris. So now you go on the road to Archbishop Wood, a team you guys know very well. You've played on that floor, call it once a year for Catholic League play by and large, and then also you play there during the Diane Moscow Foundation shootout. What's it like playing in that building, and what will it be like on Friday against that team?
I mean, it's a good vibe when you play. Well, I don't know. When you're playing against them in there, it's like they fans. But when you're just playing there in the Diane Bosco, it's a good thing. But we're going to go there. We're going to walk out with a win. That's the goal.
And you have good memories from that gym, don't you, from the Moscow? 2 years ago,
yeah.
A certain shot?
Yeah, for sure. That was my favorite shot.
A game winner against Central York, and really has propelled, in a lot of ways, this team over the last 2 years, growing under Chris and growing yourselves as you get into your senior year with Laquan. We've called you guys guard high because you stretch it out with 4 guards that are tough, that we love to see play. What is so special about this group of 4 and Rocco 5 when you guys go out there on the floor?
I mean, the thing about us is that the fact that we have Father Judge, people overlook us because they never expect Father Judge to be this good, but we always playing with a chip on our shoulder. Just prove people that we believe that.
Well, we're going to be there on Friday. We look forward to seeing that chip on your shoulder continue to propel you against a tough Vikings team. Kavar, thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Thank you to John Moscow, Chris Rowntree for their time. I think that we have primed well enough the teacher versus pupil, but I really think it's an incredible part of the matchup here. The other part of the matchup, and John Moscow mentioned it in his interview, Will, is these teams are built similarly. And Chris Rowntree told me earlier in the year how he talks to John about once a week about how do you get a team to the Palestra. And John's answer was, remember, it took me 3 or 4 years to do it. Kind of don't rush it and understand the process. Well, now, as we're affectionately calling Father Judge guard high, he has his slate of guards that can go up against anybody. A little bit of a slide towards the end of the season, Will, but it's a team that on any given night and in 32 minutes of basketball can beat anybody, and that includes Archbishop Wood on the road.
Yes. We call him guard high, and there's a reason why we call him guard high. Derek Morton Rivera is probably more towards the wing category, but Kavar Kennedy, true point guard. I mean, as true of a point guard as you're going to get. Really good distributor, can score in the paint, will shoot open threes, but not necessarily hunting for threes. He's hunting for his teammate's shot, right? Laquan Bird, really, really strong, physical, point guard, combo guard. He's exceptional. Nazir Tyler,
Philly guard, Philly
Yeah.
guard. Laquan
Oh, man.
Birdman just screams Philly guard.
right, as tough as it
Toughness.
gets. As tough
Yeah.
as it gets.
Great
Nazir-
finisher.
Yes, Nazir Tyler, tough freshman, right? He doesn't look like a freshman out there at
Mhm.
all, right? If you're a observer and you're watching and you're watching a Father Judge game in Northeast Philadelphia, you're saying, is that kid, 18 years old? The kid is strong. He's big. He's mature out there. He doesn't look like a freshman. He's playing like 20 minutes a game. And then Rocco Westfield off the bench is another guy who gives some good minutes, right? Again, like a tough Northeast Philly kid, who he brings something to the table for this Father Judge team. So those are the guards. And then you hear about they have Anthony Lilly and Everett Barnes, which gives them a dynamic that Archbishop Wood doesn't really have, right? Josh Reed can guard a big, but who's their real big?
I know.
There is none, right? So an Everett Barnes could give Archbishop Wood a little bit of trouble. Anthony Lilly's not so much a back-to-the-basket guy. He's more going to, linger in the porch area, might spread out for a three in the corner, right? He can finish in the post, but their game plan isn't going to be going to Anthony Lilly, right? The Anthony Lilly versus maybe no true big matchup isn't something that's going to, make the headlines, and it's not a headline story at all. But if Everett Barnes gets into the game, he hasn't started much this year, but when he gets into the game, he's a back-to-the-basket guy, and he could, give Archbishop Wood a little bit of trouble.
I like Lilly, though, at the high ball screen and creating trouble there. And again, testing this Archbishop Wood defense that we talked to John Moscow for 15 minutes about his offense. And, he'll be the first to tell you that the defense really needs to start locking in. And Father Judge could have success in that regard. Again, Lilly out of the high ball screen and letting those four guards go to work. Barnes absolutely gives them a size advantage. He's one of those guys, though, that the less he's putting the ball on the ground and the higher he holds it, the better he's going to be, because Archbishop Wood is going to collapse on Barnes, and whether Barnes can do the right thing and kind of go up with it and not bring the ball down, or kick to the open wing or kick to the open perimeter, that's where Judge can be successful. And then on the Archbishop Wood side, it starts and ends with those two guards, Jalil Bethea and with Josh Reed. And those guys are a little bit longer than some of those Father Judge guards. I guess Morton Rivera excluded there, but those guys are so talented, and it likely will fall to needing big shots from a Milan Dean or a big defensive play from Milan Dean, a big shot from Deuce Maxey at some point. Tahir Howell is a guy that will be asked to step up in the post, in the paint, against Barnes and Lilly. And I think that's the interesting part of the matchup, is if you could take a 1-2, I don't want to insult anybody, but maybe you'd take, certainly Bethea, and then maybe you'd take Josh Reed as number 2. But the depth of guards that Father Judge will just throw at you is where it becomes very interesting. Can they force Bethea and Reed to have an off night? Almost nobody has been able to do that. And if not, Archbishop Wood's likely going to win the basketball game.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Jalil Bethea is such a multi-dimensional player that if you face guard him, then he's going to cut backdoor and dunk. If you give him space, he's going to shoot it and I'm saying an iota of space, right? He doesn't need more than 2 inches to get a shot off. And if you just want to guard him man to man, he's really good off the dribble. He really is. He's long. He's shifty. He's going to give you a double move or a triple move to try to get to the rim. And then Josh Reed is just so strong and efficient, right? And you need to be in the gaps against this Archbishop Wood team. And you don't need to be up on Josh Reed, but Josh Reed uses that to his advantage, right? So that gap defense, Josh Reed is a rip driver, right? He's not going to catch and shoot. He catch, rip, drive. And he's so strong and fast and athletic that because he gets a little bit of space against gap defenses, he can take it right at the body, get up, play off 2, and finish. So those two are, obviously exceptional. But then can Deuce Maxey hit catch and shoot threes, right? He struggled last year, has been a little bit better this year in the catch and shoot 3 department. But can he knock down catch and shoot threes? Can a Brady McAdams knock down catch and shoot threes? He's proven that he can. but can he play on both sides, right? I like a Brady McAdams, but defensively, he's not super battle tested in the Philadelphia Catholic League. So it's going to be a really interesting chess match between.
Yeah.
Coach
Throw
Anderson.
Mike Green in that as well, right? Another
my
spot up
goodness.
shooter. And so if you can have McAdams in one corner and Mike Green in the other, and Josh Reed and Jaleel Bethea driving, forcing doubles and kicking to those guys to get their feet set, that's how you score 93 points a contest in the last 2 weeks, right? That is how you be efficient.
It's a defensive nightmare, right? Because if you have Mike Green, one of the best lefty shooters in the league, right? One of the best shooters in the league, and he's a lefty. And then Brady McAdams, who's a good catch and shoot guy in the corners. It's really hard to play that gap defense that you need to play against the Jaleel Bethea for help and against the Josh Reed for help, because both of those guys are willing passers, right? They're willing to give it up and kick it to their guys, right?
Yeah.
And then you have
I think that's what John was talking about too, when he talked about Jaleel understanding now that he's going to be double teamed and he's still going to get his, but to understand spacing on the floor and yes, be that willing passer that we all know he is and what's going to make him great at the next level in addition to his ability to score.
Yeah. Jaleel's off night is our career night, Bob. Like if Jaleel has 22, he probably wasn't getting all the shots that he wanted to.
Yeah.
Right? But I think he's learning that's okay, right? If I get 22, but Mike knocks down 4 threes and Josh has 18 and Brady knocks down 2 threes and Milan is getting to the rim and scores 10, it's like, whoa, all of a sudden, like, points are adding up here and we're going to be fine.
Last point on this game before we get to our next matchup. We talked about it with John, but the 6A PIAA state playoffs, it has to be addressed. It has to be addressed because we talk about it a lot. Had St. Joe's Prep won that 4-5 game last year, there is a not too distant scenario where St. Joe's Prep wins the state title. So if they beat Archbishop Wood and St. Joe's Prep gets an undermanned Roman Catholic team because Jeremiah Stewart Herring and Eric Oliver Bush weren't out. Remember, that was a state semifinal. Maybe St. Joe's Prep wins that game, and you put 2 extra ball handlers on the floor against a tough Reading defense. Not to take anything away from the Red Knights and our buddy Rick Perez. They won the title fair and square. Point being is there was a team waiting in the stable in St. Joe's Prep that didn't even get out of district play, of their league play, because of how the PIAA is organized 6A. And quite frankly, the depth of talent in the Philadelphia Catholic League at the large school division. We're looking at that same thing again, except there's a new team in those fray. It's Roman, it's St. Joe's Prep, it's Archbishop Wood, and now it's Father Judge, who again is younger than those other 3 teams we mentioned. But also, you saw them handle Central York in the Diane Moscow Foundation Classic on that same floor that we'll see on Friday night, by the way. 2 really good teams are going to be left out. And if it is Roman Catholic in the driver's seat, of course, to earn one of those 2 seeds, they will have, once again, some roster depletion based upon PIAA eligibility.
Yes. So, this Father Judge team, guard-wise, right, it's going to be really hard for any team to match up with them. Outside of, they're going to be 6th in the Philadelphia Catholic League, right? So there's probably 5 teams that match up with them better in the Philadelphia Catholic League. There's probably not 5 teams in 6A that match up better with them. And I think that gives the overall idea that the Philadelphia Catholic League is so elite that, I mean, last year, if you take that St. Joe's Prep team, given the circumstances, with no Jeremiah Stewart Herring, no Eric Oliver Bush, I think they probably win the state championship. Yeah, I don't think that's a hot take. You don't think it's a hot take. When I look back at 2 years ago, LaSalle College High School, the 5 seed in the Philadelphia Catholic League, the only playoff team in the Philadelphia Catholic League, 1 through 10, only the 5 seed didn't play in PIAA state playoffs. And that's when you're looking at it and like, something's not right here.
And by the way, who played in Hershey that year? Roman Catholic and Archbishop Wood at the 6A level.
And that wasn't a mistake, right?
Right.
But what happened the next year, that's impossible now.
Yep. Oh, the PIAA won't let that happen again. That's right.
Yep.
That's right.
So
that's the story on this game, I think. And I think we've covered it from about all angles. This is the place to be on Friday night. If you can't be there, watch it on Bob Long Sports.
Yeah.
We can't wait.
No, it's going to be a great game. It really is. And the implications can't be bigger, right? Because the reality of it is one of these teams is going to go home in terms of the state playoffs. And as much as everyone, including you and I, will say that winning a Catholic League championship is remembered forever, right? The crowd is unbelievable. And I wish that we got bigger crowds at the Giant Center, right? Every time that a PCL team plays, maybe with the exception of Lansdale Catholic Girls last year, brought a incredible crowd. I mean, this is almost like a plea, like, hey, we're in the PIAA. Bring a crowd. Like, we should care about the championships. But point being, the PCL championship is significantly more important to all of these teams than the PIAA. But there is still that aspect to it.
There's still 3 titles on the line each year. No doubt about it. So that's Friday night. Archbishop Wood, Father Judge, 7 p.m. Bob Long Sports Broadcasting. We can't wait. Now let's hear from the 2 next coaches on the Rhoda and another Herculean matchup. St. Joe's Prep, the Hawks, taking on Archbishop Bryan. Head coach of the Hawks from St. Joe's Prep, Jason Harrigan, is with us here. Coach, thank you for being with us. Congrats on a wonderful season to this point. In this particular iteration of the Philadelphia Catholic League, to have a home playoff game is quite an accomplishment, and it's meaningful, isn't it, to have that game in front of your home fans?
Absolutely. I mean, we definitely, appreciate being able to have the game in front of our fans, our students, our families. Our gym is beautiful. The atmosphere is a really great atmosphere. And for a team that, likes to shoot 3, you want to shoot it at home. So it's a good feeling to be able to play at home.
Yeah, those 4 guards, we want to talk about them. The off-season story was the departure of Tristan and the lack of eligibility for his last year. But this team now takes on a little bit of a different feel where you go 4 and now 5 guards across at times. And to have the 4 of them that really stand out, Jaron McKee and Ellerby and Harper and Chamberlain, that has to be quite a hand to have as a head coach.
Absolutely. Those guys, they've been part of this program for the last 3 years. Well, Harper, 4 years, and Matt Gorman, 4 years. They've done a lot. We play a lot of basketball off season, in season. They've grown in so many different ways. For me, I'm proud of them, the way that they played this year. And, I feel like, the league is just so good, but the things that they've been able to accomplish in this league and with this team and with this program, it's been, really, really a joy to be a part of. And I'm excited for all of them, and I love what they've done for prep basketball and St. Joe's Prep as a school.
No doubt about it. Go ahead there, Will. Yeah.
Yeah. When we look at teams that do well in the postseason, almost always they're battle tested by their non-conference schedule, right? And you guys open up the season on the road at Imhotep. Talk to me about what that opening game and how you guys schedule your non-conference to get you guys ready for hostile environments in the PCL. And then, being battle tested and being ready for those hostile environments in the PCL, it got you a home game. So you don't have to deal with that hostile environment. But talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I was a pub guy. So, I used to play there really twice a year because the school that I was at didn't have their own gym. So we didn't even have home games versus Imhotep. We used to have to go there twice sometimes. And I think it was the hostile environment was a great start. And, for me, it was like with this team, we want to win it all. So we want to win the Catholic League. We want to win states. We know that those are going to be, a daunting task. So I was like, we're not protecting this group. We want to throw them into the fire right away. and what is a way that we could like really kind of get it started. And MOTEP is always going to be a great team. They're going to defend. They're going to play hard. The atmosphere is going to be great. And it was just like, we're not trying to protect ourselves. We want to like see what we are, and that's why we kind of chose to go there early. That's kind of how we chose our non-league schedule early. It wasn't about, well, let's try to get home games and get convenient games and things like that. It was more so like, let's throw ourselves in the fire, see where we are, because we know we have, a daunting task in front of us. So let's make sure we throw ourselves in the fire, see what's what. We can figure out, what we need to fix and where we need to get better at early on. And that was a great atmosphere, a great game. We came up short, but it definitely helped us get the season off to a good start as far as like learning about ourselves and figuring out, what we could do well and what we needed to fix.
Well, it's a great segue because you talk about wanting to win 3 titles, right? Catholic League, District, and then State. Now, winning a Philadelphia Catholic League championship will take care of state eligibility, no doubt about it. But you guys are in a similar situation to last year where in terms of regular season standings, Roman is the top 6A team. Archbishop Wood nabbed you guys by 1 spot, and then you guys are the 3rd team, at least in terms of regular season standings, in the 6A. Now, of course, the PIAA, the way the district is set up, only 2 teams from the 6A in the Philadelphia Catholic League can get there. Now you add Father Judge and their resurgence. There's a 4th 6A team that, you ask me humbly, is good enough to win a state title on any given day. Only 2 teams are going to get that shot. Does that at all come into your mindset? Hopefully not that of the players, but I mean, is that something you're at all cognizant of as you go through your season?
We were cognizant of it, but I think that we knew from the outset that it was going to come down to like these type of things, right? Like it's going to come down to, who does the most in the Catholic League. As far as like Wood and Roman and Judge, we knew that they all had good teams. Everybody's aware of the players, the coaches, and the program. So we know that there's going to be good teams. We don't spend much time thinking about it because it's going to be what it's going to be, no matter what. After our game, I think against Roman, we came up short and we thought we were going to Wood. Like we thought at the end of the game we were going to Wood, and then Judge loses to Carroll, and then it switches, and it's like, you going to Wood or you playing Ryan at home, and it's like, it's not like one road is just a clear path as opposed to the other. So it's, in that regard, we got to take care of business, and we know it's going to be about us. We've played every team in the league, came up short against Wood, Judge, and Roman. And I feel like for us, we feel like we can win the league. We feel like the things that occurred in those games, we could definitely be better. We could have played better. I think at the same time, while we beat other really, really great teams from, Ryan and Newman-Goretti and Bonner and Carroll, and we understand that, there's things that we could have done better there as well. So at the end of the day, I think everybody knows it's coming down to the playoffs. It's going to come down to like who finishes out the best. Like right now, when we talk about points and who has the most points and where we're at, it's like we don't have to play the game. So we got to win the games to get there, and that's what we're ready to do.
And then one final question, in that last year, you guys obviously had Tristan as the big fella, but you guys really had 6 starters with the importance of Jordan Ellerby. It seems as though he's taken not 1, but 2 or 3 steps forward this year into a real, 2nd or 3rd star or 1st star, wherever you want to put Jaron, Olin, Jalen, all those guys. It feels like Jordan is on that level right now. Talk about how important it is that Jordan got those minutes last year as the 6th starter and now is thriving in the Catholic League.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it as far as like Jordan was a 6th starter, because we never really felt like Jordan wasn't a starter. Like he battled injuries early in the year last year. So, that kind of, it kind of like just flowed into that. It just worked itself out that way that he ended up being, the person who wasn't starting because he wasn't healthy for the first game. Then we started playing and we got rolling, and it was just like, okay, this is how we're going to kind of play. But I think that, when those guys came in, Olin, Jordan, And Jaron, we knew that they were going to be like the core of our team moving forward, and Jalen and Tristan, and Matt Gorman. Like we knew what it was, and I think that we were prepared for anybody not to start, and it just kind of played out that way. But Jordan, he's made a huge jump. He worked really hard on his game. His body developed really well. And I think he is, one of the best players in the league for sure. I think last year he was able to come off the bench, and that served our team well. And this year there wasn't we didn't question whether or not he would be ready to be a starter. I think whether we had Tristan or not, like Jordan was going to be like in that role, and I think Jordan was going to have a great year either way. So I think that you said it really well as far as like having 6 starters last year. I think we trust them, and I think Jordan was ready for the moment, and we never doubted whether or not he was going to be ready.
We appreciate your time, Jason. I think you said it very well when you said you have a team that's able to win the league. I truly believe that. I also believe that Archbishop Ryan is one of those teams. That's what makes Friday's matchup so much fun. Who's going to come out there and play their game and get out of Kelly Fieldhouse with the victory? We can't wait to see how things go, and if things go well for you, we will see you down at the Palestra.
Absolutely. I mean, Ryan's a great team, great coach. We know what we're up against, and we're excited about the matchup on Friday. So thank you all, and for all the work that you all do for the league. It's great. Sometimes I don't have to travel up to games. I get to watch you. You guys got the stats, coverage. It's a beautiful league that we're in, and we're grateful to be here and grateful to be a part of it.
Great. Thanks, Jason. Great job coaching this unit this year, and we'll see you soon. Joe Zaglinski, head coach of Archbishop Ryan, is next as our guest here on the preview show. Joe, congrats on a wonderful season. You guys have a very talented group, and it's not often that 3 losses in the Catholic League sends you to the road for the quarterfinals,
sure.
but that's how the ball bounces this year. But how are you doing, and how are your guys feeling?
Yeah, I'm good, man. Everyone's healthy. We're feeling good about, the momentum we have going into the playoffs. It's not many times you win 10 games and you're heading to the road, but, that's just tells a story about the PCL and the parity in the league. So we're excited, to have a quarterfinal playoff game.
Yeah, and just a little bit of looking back before we move forward, because you look at those 3 losses, the first of which was on the road at St. Joe's Prep, where you're going on Friday, the first game of Catholic League play. You guys led in that game. Archbishop Wood, final possession. Newman-Goretti, overtime, final possession. I mean, there's nobody that's shown, and I don't think you or anyone else expected anyone to show, but no one's shown that they're going to be able to outplay you guys consistently on a 32-minute basis, that this is a team that can and is in some circles expected to, go all the way. How do you feel about this year's group?
I really feel good about, where we're at right now. Sometimes you take a couple steps back, before going forward. And I think that, those losses, we've learned a lot, closing games, closing quarters out. And that was pretty much our downfall, early in the PCL season. And, I think it really helped us down the stretch. And, we have to continue to play disciplined basketball in those situations. And we have been lately. So let's hope that continues.
The defense has stood out to me, and we'll talk about the offense as well. But in terms of some of your on-ball defenders on the perimeter, and I think those guys are emboldened to be up in the ball handler's grill because of who's sitting there in the lane waiting to defend the rim. And Thomas Sorber, a PCL MVP candidate, and one of the best we've seen here in the league in a long time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we can do a lot of different things on defense because of Thomas, protecting the rim, not giving up any easy layups. And, our guards have been playing on the ball, stopping, lane straight line drives, which have been helpful lately. And, with Thomas back there, we can definitely switch up, our defenses and pressure the ball this year. And, the last few years. So, he's all over the court, and he has such great timing and doesn't really get in foul trouble on the defense end. It gives us a lot of, flexibility in what we do on the defensive end. and credit to Thomas for that.
So to continue on that defensive point, you guys run a lineup that's as big as any lineup in the Philadelphia Catholic League. I think back to the West Catholic teams a couple years ago that would run out, a bunch of 6'6" guys with that length. With Jaden and Thomas, and even Darren has some length to him, and Rocco has some length to him. Talk about that defensive versatility that you guys can go zone, keep Thomas, but with your length, you can still get out on shooters. And that's a big deal against the St. Joe's Prep team that likes to shoot 25, 26 threes a game.
Yeah, for sure. A really talented team. Guards are really good. And Coach Harrigan does a great job with them. And, we're going to have to take away the three, of course. And, we can mix it up a little bit. But, that's the key. Our guards really, being able to, close out on balance and under control against a team with that many talented guards.
Coach Thomas Sorver and the impact he's had on the program, we can probably fill, hours-long podcast with that. But I do want to talk about him setting the all-time scoring record and overtaking a very familiar face, yourself, and you being on the bench throughout the entirety of his career, and to see that culminate in the way he did it, an alley-oop, which was a great call, by the way, and a good read by Darren to lob that to the rim. But what was that like from your seat, from the beginning to where he is now as a senior?
Yeah, I wouldn't want anyone else, to hold that, that scoring title. And I knew it was coming. He's a special kid and special player, obviously. But, be able to coach him for the last 3 years has been, better than ever expected. He's, he kind of controls the room, and we go as he goes. His personality has been great, and his team leadership has been great throughout. So for him having the scoring title, he deserves it. He's the best player that ever played here, so it only fits, offensively and defensively. So for sure, it's been an awesome experience. Working with all our seniors, especially Thomas.
And this is more of a general question, but as a 2006 grad, you've seen it all, right?
Yeah.
And you've coached for a while. Is there a shot blocker and a guy that alters shot that you can compare him to in the league, or is he in a league of his own?
That's a great question, and I've talked about it before. I don't know. I don't think I've seen one, as good as Thomas. Without fouling. We had a kid, Fred Taylor, who was awesome. Shot blocker when Isaiah Brockton graduated 2017. And that really helped our team, where we were able to pressure out like we are this year. But I don't think timing wise and be able to stay out of foul trouble and defensive end, and keep the balls in play too. He blocks shots, and we get out on the offensive end. They're not just going in the stands all the time. His timing and his positioning, I don't think there has been a better shot blocker, in my opinion, since I've been in the league, or even since 2000, which I've been, around the PCL.
Joe, there's probably, if you ask in the various circles, 6, maybe 7 teams that could get to the final, that could cut down the nets at the Palestra. You guys are squarely in the middle of that list. So for Archbishop Ryan to achieve its goal and win a Catholic League championship this year, what will need to happen?
We have to continue closing out quarters, halves, games. Everyone has to play their role. I think that's been happening over the last couple of weeks, that we talked about. Let our scorers do their thing, and, have to play inside out, through Thomas. And, we'll have a good chance if we do that, and we continue to play great defense. So, on our defense, is going to set the tone for us, going forward, and it has in the last few weeks.
Is there one guy or guys that in the last, say, 3 weeks have stepped up in a way where maybe that you didn't expect, not to say that, but stepped up in a way where you really needed him to do so, and you feel can be that extra kicker as you make a postseason run?
Jaden Murray, since the first, week or two in the PCL, he's been our most consistent player, besides Thomas. And we know what to expect from him. He makes all the right plays. He's in the right position on defense, and he's only getting better. So, I hope some colleges take a hard look at him, because, his upside's so great. And another couple of guys, Rocco's been playing well the last few games, playing his role, being a tough defender, and, taking the right shot and finishing at the rim. and then Ryan Everett off the bench. We weren't hitting shots for a long time, and which kind of hurt us early in the season where teams would double and triple Thomas. We're starting to get into a shooting rhythm now. And Ryan, he had 13 today against Roman. So our shooters started making shots, and that's going to be huge for us. So guys can't just concentrate on Thomas and Darren.
And then one last question is, you guys have had some road battles, right? You're battle tested, but specifically on the road, right? You go to St. Joe's Prep, which is notoriously like a tougher place to shoot.
Yeah.
You played at Newman-Goretti, obviously that war there. And at Father Judge, right? Probably your not most important game of the year, but for a lot of people who follow Father Judge, yeah, exactly. And who follow Archbishop Brian, the most important game of the year. What about those games has you prepared for Friday at St. Joe's Prep at Kelly Fieldhouse?
I don't think it's just this year. This our senior class. They've been to the PCL championship. They have that feeling of that loss last year in the quarterfinal. So they're taking it one game at a time, and they're going to be ready to play wherever. And that's the mindset we need to have. We have to be really together and connected. Going away the Prep. And they do a great job especially on their home court. With their game plan and shooting the ball. So we really have to stay together. If they make a run, I think that's going to be really important to be connected and together throughout the game, no matter if they get hot for a quarter or so.
All right, now actually the last one, but this one just came to mind when Will's talking about the challenge of your schedule. City of Palms. It's not too often we can connect the dots between a Philadelphia Catholic League team going down there and then coming back and playing a PCL schedule. So what was the competition like down there? How did your guys fare, in terms of what was that experience like? And then how do you compare it to week in, week out here in the PCL?
Yeah, it's a good question. Down there, it's you don't know until you're there. The talent is unbelievable. Guards everywhere. Their bigs are strong and tough. So it really got us ready to, how Thomas is going to be played a little bit by physical play. We lost a couple, I think, that, we wish we had back down there. But I think we did learn from it, learn how to, play together and connect it on defense. So the talent down there, you have to stay in front of guys, and we didn't do a great job down there. I thought, first quarter or first half, first Columbus, number one team in the country, we were that team, that really played tough and connected. But we weren't making shots, but we were in the game, all three games, to a certain point. And it really did help us come together as a group, I thought. And then, we're coming to PCL play, we were ready to go, and unfortunately late in games we weren't finishing, and then finishing games off the right way. And I think combined with that experience with City of Palms and a couple of early losses in the PCL has helped us tremendously, and this is a group that's really together, and they really want to win for each other. So that's we hope it continues to the Palestra.
Well, we are looking forward to following your run, and that should be a heck of a game. I hope your boy Ted Westervelt is there to broadcast.
I hope so. I have to talk to Danny D over there and get him on, because Ted's done a great job this year, and he does a real, you guys I think are the top of their standard now. Bob Long, and I think Teddy's next.
Teddy's my man. Anytime I get a chance to work with Ted, it's a good night. So I appreciate what he and his team does.
Yeah, no, thank you guys.
All right, Joe. Hey, good luck. We'll be watching. And
I appreciate it.
Hey, things go well. We'll see you at the Palestra.
Yep, I'll see you there.
We head to 17th and Girard, thanks to Jason Harrigan and Joe Zaglinski for spending some time with us. Bob Long, Will Ryan here for the Philadelphia Catholic League preview show. You probably know that already, however long we are into this show. Wow, what a great game. If the main event is Archbishop Wood hosting Father Judge, this is a heck of an undercard, Will. It really is, because you go back to the first night of Philadelphia Catholic League play, and Archbishop Ryan, in some circles, was the favorite coming in to win the Catholic League regular season this year. All was going well. They were up high single digits, may have even had a double-digit lead at one point on the road at Kelly Fieldhouse. And then those four guards for St. Joe's Prep took over, hitting three after three, double teaming Thomas Sorber. And St. Joe's Prep, it felt like at the time, escapes with a win that it didn't look like they were going to get for most of the time. Now, it's a first-round playoff game here in the quarterfinal where Archbishop Bryan has to travel to St. Joe's. And if you do just a little bit of backwards math, it's because of that result that the matchup is not flipped and they're not playing Northeast Philadelphia. This will be an incredible game between a highly balanced team in St. Joe's Prep and a team in Archbishop Bryan that has relied so heavily upon Thomas Sorber, an MVP candidate here in the Philadelphia Catholic League, as well as Darren Williams, a volume shooter who has gotten hot down the stretch from beyond the arc and running that offense.
Oh, there's no doubt. And we talk about that game, first night of the Philadelphia Catholic League. Archbishop Bryan's up 30-19 at half. St. Joe's Prep outscores them 19-7 in the fourth quarter to go on and win that game by 5. And as you said, it was those guards, right? Jared McKee in double figures, Jordan Ellerby with 19, Jalen Harper with 16. And I want to say, I believe I read a Josh Verlin article saying that he had 10 of his 16 in the fourth quarter or something close to that number. Big fourth quarter for Jalen Harper. Then Owen Chamberlain with 10. Those were the only four guys to score. Matt Gorman was 0 for 7 from the field, and they still snuck out with a win there. So you got to think that this matchup is going to be so good because, Thomas Sorber in that game had 22 and 17, right? These are two fun teams to watch, good defensive teams that can score the ball, but in different ways, right? This St. Joe's Prep team relies completely on their guards. They're a 5-guard lineup, right? Jalen Harper is their closest thing to a forward that they really play outside of maybe 2 or 3 spot minutes from a Jackson McGuire. This is a guard-laden team versus a team that revolves around their big men. And when I say big men, I'm saying Thomas Sorber and Jaden Murray, right? A lot of teams would go 4 guards and then, the big fella, just like St. Joe's Prep did last year when they had Tristan Gillowett. But this Archbishop Bryan team sacrifices a little bit of offense and goes, we are going to be so hard to score again. So we're going to go with one of the best shot blockers the Philadelphia Catholic League has ever seen. And then we're going to go with a 4 who's played primarily as a backup 5 in his career. Now he's a real good athlete. Jaden Murray can kind of play a point forward position at times. But defensively, Archbishop Bryan is so hard to stop. And it's two completely contrasting styles that I'm really just looking forward to.
Yes. Yeah, contrasting styles. And it does feel like it feels like we could have a shootout on our hands, except for the fact of how disciplined and good these teams are defensively. But you would think that how is St. Joe's Prep going to guard Thomas Sorber? Well, look back to the 32 minutes that we have to benchmark against. 22 and 17, you just mentioned. Archbishop Bryan's incredible defense, and I would put them up against maybe Roman Catholic as the best defensive team in the Philadelphia Catholic League, kind of 1 and 1A there. How are they so impressive defensively? Well, in large parts because the lane is a non-starter, and getting to the basket and finishing at the rim is a relative non-starter. Archbishop Bryan will play a lot of zone because that'll keep Thomas Sorber in his spot as a rim protector. He can't be pulled out by, again, the likes of, we talked about in our last segment how Anthony Lilly can play and stretch to the perimeter for Father Judge, an Anthony Lilly type. A big that can stretch Sorber in a man-to-man set to the perimeter. That's not going to happen if Archbishop Bryan's going to stay in the zone for the majority of the contest. Okay, that's all well and good, but then you dot the perimeter with 4 dynamite 3-point shooters, a team that could shoot Archbishop Bryan out of the zone, and we saw the 3-point shot be the thing that propelled St. Joe's Prep to the victory the first time these two teams played. It could go a number of ways. You have 2 great defensive teams, but 2 styles where the offenses can be successful against the defense that other unit wants to run. That makes it so much fun.
Yeah, and just one last note on that first game. I don't know if Archbishop Bryan's best game plan or best way to beat to beat St. Joe's Prep is they shot 25 threes that game. That's not what Archbishop Bryan wants to do per se, right? Can a Darren Williams knock down threes? Absolutely. And does he shoot a high volume of them? Absolutely. He was 2 for 9 from three in that game. But Rocco Morabito 1 for 7 in that game. That's a lot of threes from an Archbishop Ryan team that really wants to play inside out. So that's where
notoriously tough place to shoot, Will. And I know you played there.
Yeah, no, the airplane hangar that is the Kelly Fieldhouse. No. And I wanted to say the atmosphere at Kelly Fieldhouse this year has been significantly better than anything in my past memory. I look back at that Roman game, really good student section for St. Joe's Prep. I look at the Archbishop Wood game, big student section for St. Joe's Prep. So I want to give St. Joe's Prep a lot of credit. They've redone the floor there, and they've really brought in, I mean, I guess when you play inspiring basketball and when you play, a fun style, right? We got talented guards. Come watch. And people are coming. So I do want to credit St. Joe's Prep on just like building a little bit of an atmosphere in a place that's kind of hard to have an atmosphere because it's so vast and so open. But yeah, it's not the easiest place to shoot in the world. Dimensions are weird. You've got 2 courts behind you when you're shooting. Everything just feels open there. So shooting 25 threes, if you're Archbishop Ryan, I think you'd much rather see Thomas, instead of going 8 for 11 from the field, he'll sacrifice a little bit of efficiency. But if Thomas ends up going, 12 for 20 from the field, I think that might be a better way to go about it because he's going to get hacked.
Yep. And our buddy Ted Westervelt from the Archbishop Ryan Basketball Network will tell you how much better he's been shooting from the line. Huck Palmer can tell you that as well with his statistics. But Ted talks about it ad nauseum, that if you get this guy to the line, he's a lot more efficient this year. And I think that's part of it. They're going to have the size advantage, as they do on most teams. But the 4 guards of St. Joe's Prep, really the 5 guards of St. Joe's Prep, against Thomas Sorber and some of those wings for Archbishop Ryan, it'll be a heck of a game. And I don't have this 100% guaranteed, but I sure hope this is the case. And the folks at St. Joe's Prep let our buddy Ted Westervelt from Archbishop Ryan in to call that game because he does a great job with his team. Mark Heimerdinger and Joe Sinai, along with Ted. Hopefully you can watch the game there. Hopefully that's where I'm going to be watching it when I get home from Warminster and our broadcast at Archbishop Wood. Shout out to WSJP Broadcasting as well, the Student Radio Broadcast Network, which I think will be doing that game audio only. That's the way they've done most of their games, but they do an awesome job led by Bill Avington over there. So that's the matchup. Will, I don't know if we missed anything. If not, I think it's time to head to the number 1 and the number 2 seeds that we're going to be previewing just the teams themselves because we have a 7-10 and an 8-9 that we talked about earlier in the show that will determine who plays Roman Catholic number 1 and Newman-Goretti the number 2 seed.
Welcome to the Cathedral of College Basketball that opens its doors just twice a year to the high school ranks. Boy, just witnesses, 2 of us here, to what will be a spectacular atmosphere. Us and about 9,000 of our closest friends. That is no good. 5 seconds left. Xavier Brown. This is for the tie.
Unbelievable.
And we are going to overtime.
They can't believe it.
This is Catholic League basketball.
This is why this place is special, Bob.
Newman-Goretti, one final heave, and the hubcap is coming back to Broad and Vine. Philadelphia Catholic League champions. And they can't keep the students off the floor. A joyous celebration on the center of the Palestra floor.
Our next guest representing the Roman Catholic Cahillites, the number 1 seeded Roman Catholic Cahillites, is Dan Hoban, who is the kind of do-everything guy for the Roman Catholic program, has been in that role for a long time, and also is a spectacular public address announcer who you will all hear at the Palestra on those 2 magical nights in February. Dan, thanks for joining us. for the Philadelphia Catholic League Preview Show. How are you today?
Good morning. Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure. So Roman Catholic, yet again, at the top of the Philadelphia Catholic League standings, yet again have a bye in the first round. You don't have to play in the 7-10, 8-9, and then they await the winner of one of those 7-10, 8-9 matchups, the lowest of the teams to come from that grouping. That's all very similar, Dan. That happens most years, but this team feels a lot different than some of the teams that we've seen in recent years, the Xavier Brown teams of the world, the Lamar Stevens, Tony Carr. What makes this particular group different?
What I like about this Roman team this year, Bob, is they do a tremendous job of sharing the basketball, making the extra pass. No one's out looking for themselves. It's all about the team. Nobody cares who's doing all the scoring. It's just about getting stops on defense turning into transition offense, and then running our half court sets. More of an outside shooting team than in past years.
Mm-hmm. And one thing that's really stuck out to me, I broadcast the Newman-Goretti Roman Catholic regular season game, which is always such a big contest and really dictated, as you look back now, who ended up being that one seed based upon that result. At the time, Chris McNesby, the head coach of the team, of course, was telling me that you guys were going point guard by committee. And I was racking my brain. I was trying to remember the last Roman Catholic team that went point guard by committee when you have Xavier Brown and 4 years before him, Tony Carr, and I mean, on and on and on. But it was at that time where Cabe Goss, the undersized point guard, was coming back from a second dinged up knee, and it was great to see him step into that role. They're not really going point guard by committee anymore, are they? Cabe has really stepped into that role.
No, yeah, but you're right. We did have to go point guard by committee with Hunter Johnson, with Sebastian Edwards, before Cabe came back from his knee injury. So it made the team a little more versatile. In the Catholic League, you can never have enough ball handling guards. So, Chris was 100% correct on that. But having a ball handler like Cabe out on the floor, basically as the quarterback, just makes everything flow a lot better.
And then, Dan, in that game that Bob broadcasted and that you mentioned, in that Newman-Goretti game, 23 made baskets for Roman Catholic and 19 assists. So you said that they share the ball like no other team, and one of those guys is Sammy Jackson. Sammy Jackson, 6 assists in that game, and you don't look at him as anything close to a point guard, but the way that he shares the ball really fits in with your system, and he has completely blossomed into a bit of a star in the latter half of this season. Can you talk a little bit about Sammy?
Well, Sammy came to Roman. Sammy had a pretty good growth spurt coming out of grade school, and I'm very good friends with his father. Obviously, we went to Roman together, and Mark was saying, Sammy was a point guard. So he had point guard skills before. He was always the shorter one out of the two. Sharif had the big growth spurt first. So Sammy had point guard skills coming into Roman. And, last year, Sammy barely played because he had a really troublesome hamstring injury. I would say he probably played about 5 or 6 JV games, and some minutes on the varsity before the state playoffs. And he's really blossomed, and he has a huge upside.
He sure does. And then his brother Sharif, who was out for a period of time, and you were always pretty upfront with me, at least, saying, hey, we expect him back and we want him healthy when he comes back. Well, he seems to be healthy now. The most recent game we saw was on the road at 17th and Girard against St. Joe's Prep, and among other things, certainly, but Sharif Jackson looked to be the difference in that game, not just his ability to control the defensive glass, but to get to the middle of that St. Joe's Prep zone and either distribute, because he is such a good passer, or get to the rim, and he was attacking with efficiency and aggressiveness. How good has he been since he's come back?
Well, I have to give a shout out to our strength and conditioning coach, Joey Ferrero, and our trainer, Ken Eves. They did a phenomenal job of working with Sharif. And Sharif was at school at 6 in the morning before school, working with both Ken and Joey during his rehab process to get back. So Sharif's the kind of kid that wants it, and he showed that yesterday. He did warm up the last 2 games. He was in uniform and warmed up. I kind of chuckle looking at seeing the looks on the opposing coaches when they saw Sharif on the floor. I think, man, we didn't have him in our scouting report, but no, we wanted him to be 100% before he came back, and nothing would be worse than to have a setback or a re-injury there and cost us, come playoff time. But our offense runs through Sharif. I still believe the game's played inside out. So kicking the ball into him in the post opens up a lot of things for our shooters when the double teams come. Or Sharif can go to work. Sharif for a young man has a heck of a lot of post moves, so it's fun to watch. I tease him all the time. I say, you have way more moves than your dad ever had.
Will, do you have another one for Dan?
If we want to transition to talking Palestra, want to get your thoughts about last year, and I think a game that I'll tell my kids about. I think a game that a lot of people that were there will tell their kids about. And obviously, it's a much different team this year, right? I mean, obviously Sharif is still there. Obviously, Bob Cottrell is still there. Dash Edwards in a bigger role, but really a new team. But let's go back just a little bit to last year, and can we talk a little bit about that magical overtime game that you were on the PA for?
Wow. I think I've watched your broadcast of that game more times than I can imagine in the last 12 months. But quite honestly, the hardest thing is doing the PA for that one and trying to stay neutral. The 2 tough, I've joked, I said the 2 toughest plays I've ever had to stay neutral for, doing the PA was Hakeem Hart's layup with 1.6 seconds left against Bonner in 2018. And then X's miracle from 24 feet banked in to force overtime. So I tell people from around the country, if you haven't been to the Palestra, you haven't seen the cathedral of college basketball. So, and there's nothing like putting 10,000 people in the Palestra for Catholic League semis in the finals. It's the best.
2 of the best nights of the entire year, the sports calendar. There's no doubt about that. So yes, this mystery man, if you will, on your screen, Dan Hoban, the voice of the Palestra, at least for high school basketball. Can you give us a little tease as to what we might hear and how you introduce things at the Palestra?
Well, I was lucky enough, as we all were, to learn and listen from the voice of the Big Five, John McAdams, and he was such a gentleman. I met him, I think, when I was a junior at Roman, working for the staff as manager, and he couldn't have been. Fortunate enough to know him through my days as a student at LaSalle University. Always, I worked for sports information, so I was lucky enough to talk to him, listen to him do the games, and when he passed away, I started using his tagline, at the Palestra, and he would always say, "Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the University of Pennsylvania Palestra, college basketball's most historic gym." So I use that every year as my tribute to Mr. Mack, because he was the best.
Fantastic. That is great. Final one for you. This Roman Catholic team, and I'm going down the teams in my mind because I don't want to disrespect anybody, but I would say that this Roman team is at least as good of a defensive unit as anyone else in the Catholic League this year. I felt that way last year. And certainly I think Chris McNesby is the one constant there. How he teaches defense, how he gets the team to buy in. And I'm wondering if you could shed some light as to what Will and I and the listening audience may not see on a week-to-week basis at practice. How does this team consistently be so good defensively?
Well, I just think that, Chris's philosophy on defense goes back to when he was a player, playing under legendary coach Dennis Seddon, that, games are won and lost on the defensive end first. You don't see that in the NBA anymore, that's for sure. But defense definitely, it's the old cliche: defense wins championships. And Chris has gotten our guys to buy into. Listen, if we want to win games, you have to buy in on the defensive level. We were fortunate enough; we did a heck of a job yesterday afternoon holding St. Joe's Prep to 3 3-pointers. If you let Chamberlain and Ellerby and Harper and McKee get off, you're going to be in for a rough night. And they proved that last year when they pretty much handed it to us on their court last year. So the guys did a heck of a job. The coaches did a phenomenal job scouting. So, that the behind the scenes stuff is huge too. So, there's no substitute for defense.
Our good buddy Huck Palmer could not find an example of Newman-Goretti being held to 34 points or less since Ted Solari's stats started. You guys did that in a regular season matchup. Yes, a couple guys were out for Newman-Goretti, but one of those guys is still going to be out, unfortunately, for the Saints throughout. So we've seen it night after night from that defense, and that, as much as anything else, of course, a tremendously talented offense with a lot of good players. But that is also why you're a favorite in the Philadelphia Catholic League playoffs. We can't wait to get the whole thing underway tomorrow night, Wednesday night, Valentine's Day. I don't know who in the league determined that was going to be the case this year, making my life tough. But we are excited to get things underway. And Dan, it's not something. Go ahead.
Another reason why we're happy that we're not playing on Wednesday night.
Bingo. That's right. Love it. Dan, thank you so much for your time and breaking down the K-Lights for us.
Absolutely.
Thank
you for everything you and your team do for high school basketball.
Always a pleasure to talk to Dan Hoban. If we're going to call him probably Adobo, the director of basketball operations for Roman Catholic, that might be the appropriate term. He's the best, and that team, at least throughout the regular season, has been the best in the Philadelphia Catholic League. Bob Long, Will Ryan here again. Will, Roman Catholic, this team is so interesting because it is far different than last year's team. Some senior transfers have come in to make the program look a little different. Cabe Goss, a personal favorite of mine. We like the diminutive guard. We're going to talk to Andrew Bowman in a couple of minutes here from Newman-Goretti, about some of the great diminutive guards in the Philadelphia Catholic League. Cabe Goss has been so important, kind of that Chris Paul, hold the guy off your backside, create space, pass first point guard. He has been phenomenal for this team.
Yeah, there's no doubt. To have a floor general, right? And as you said, we're going to talk to Andrew Bowman in a little bit, but the one thing that is so constant in the Catholic League is I cannot think of a team that has been really successful in the postseason without a true floor general, right? And it could be a star. It could be like that. Those Bonner teams, when you think about who has the ball in their hand back in the day, it was Isaiah Wong. Isaiah Wong, you don't think of as a point guard, but a guy who can always have the ball in his hands, the guy that you want. And Cabe Goss is a guy, I'm not comparing him to Isaiah Wong, but a guy that can carry the water, can, distribute for the team. Every single good PCL team that's going to make a run into the Palestra, they've got a guy that's going to distribute the ball. They've got a guy that can score at the same time. I think Cabe Goss kind of fits that bill. And they are still point guard by committee a little bit, right? We really like Goss, but Hunter Johnson, who has played PCL ball in the past. I mean, I remember him on that Cardinal O'Hara team throwing lobs to Isaiah Pasha over LaSalle. I mean, there's guys that know how to play, and there's guys that have played at the highest level. And this is a really good team that has 3 guys. And as Dan said, even Sammy Jackson has point guard tendencies. Sharif Jackson's an elite passer. Right? They've got 5 guys that share the ball.
Yep. And then when you talk about putting the ball in the hoop, Bobby Cottrell to be able to do it from deep, volume shooter, and then Sammy and Sharif Jackson, right? There are probably still folks that are saying, hey, this is not the Roman team of certainly last year and back to the Tony Carr and Lamar Stevens teams. And so maybe this is a team that is, fit to get upset at some point. Now, maybe this isn't as dominant. Almost certainly it's not as dominant as those teams. But when you talk about a big three in terms of scoring, Sharif Jackson, Bobby Cottrell, and Sammy Jackson, particularly when Sharif was absent, has taken on that third role. And I think they're stronger now than they were at the beginning of the season because Sammy Jackson was forced into that scorer, main point of the offense role while his brother was injured.
Right. And I don't think it's too hot of a take to say that this team is a better shooting team than last year's team, right? Xavier Brown is shooting an incredible percentage at St. Joe's University. I think he's probably shooting better at the college level than he did from three at the high school level. Anthony Finkley could obviously stretch the floor. He's like a 3 at the next level, but like you don't think of him as like a catch and shoot. We're going to run a set to get him an open 3. Bob Cottrell was off the bench, but then Eric Oliver Bush was not a shooter, right? He took open 3s, but didn't hunt for shots. Jeremiah Stewart-Herring hunted for mid-range. He would rather not shoot the 3. I think Jeremiah Stewart-Herring, he's playing prep ball right now. I still think that if you're a Division I college coach, look at a guy that can defend his tail off and look at a guy that gets to the mid-range and finishes well. I mean, just go back and watch Bob's broadcast of the semifinals and the finals, and I think you would like Jeremiah Stewart-Herring. And then Sharif Jackson didn't really shoot the ball at all last year. But then this year, I mean, a name that we haven't even mentioned is Sebastian Edwards. He can shoot the lights out, right? Hunter Johnson's a capable three-point shooter. Then Bob Cottrell is this team can really shoot the ball. Sammy Jackson, the past couple games, the ability to stretch the floor. I don't even know if stretch the floor is the right term because really he's a 3 or a 4. So in the modern game, like he's playing on the perimeter anyway. But when Sharif was out and he was playing a pseudo 5 and has that really nice post spin move, for him to also be able to step out and knock down open 3s. I mean, this Roman team shooting wise is really impressive to me.
You're right. It's the difference between a team of slashers and guys that can get to the basket last year and a team that looks a little bit more like Purdue, where you have the big guy in the middle and you have to collapse on him because he's so good. And then you got 3 or 4 shooters dotting the perimeter that can catch it and knock it down. It's a different type of offense this year. And Chris McNesby is the orchestrator of that, no doubt. It's a talented team. It's a team that will get a little bit hurt after the Catholic League championships, after the playoffs are done, because there's an expectation that a good number, I think maybe one of the senior transfers or one of the transfers that have come in is still going to be eligible for PIAA play. So we saw it last year where they were shorthanded in the final against Reading and shorthanded throughout the PIAA playoffs. It didn't hurt them until the end. But if they advance through the first round, they'll be just about, I think, guaranteed their spot at that point. And that will be, I guess, a conversation for our next preview show for the PIAA playoffs. But they're full strength through the Philadelphia Catholic League playoffs here, and they've got as good a shot as anybody to win it, thanks to this new group of guys, the Chris McNesby run offense, and then that defense, which we talked about with Dan, but I believe it right now, at least as good of a defensive unit as anyone else in the Catholic League, if not the best unit right now.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And Chris McNesby, friend of the show, right? We love Coach McNesby, and you might look at this team and say, hey, this isn't, the Xavier Brown team. This isn't the Lynn Greer team. This team doesn't have a Jalen Duren. It doesn't have a Lamar Stevens. And that's absolutely correct. But they do have Chris McNesby, right? And nobody should be shocked that they are where they are right now, right? There's nothing lucky about it. This team is really, really good with a really, really good coach. They can knock down shots and they defend at the highest level. And it's saying is all this time, but defense wins championships, and this Roman Catholic team has the defense to win a championship this year.
The number 1 seed yet again in the Philadelphia Catholic League regular season. They won the regular season title. The K-Lights of Roman Catholic, thanks to Dan Hoban for spending some time with us. Now we're going to talk about the 2 seed, the Newman-Goretti Saints. They will also get a first round bye, of course, but they won't know their opponent until the games are played tomorrow night, Valentine's Day, 7 versus 10 and 8 versus 9. So let's talk to Andrew Bowman, assistant coach for the Newman-Goretti Saints.
After the next portion of our show, we are more than pleased to be joined by Coach Andrew Bowman, assistant coach at Newman-Goretti. Coach Bowman, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Yeah, absolutely. Good to talk to you guys this morning. And you're, if I remember correctly, down at Duke and Cameron Indoor, I believe, today.
Yes. At the time of this recording, yeah, we've got a 2:00 game. Boston College has a 2:00 game at Cameron Indoor. Got down here yesterday, and genuinely, when I say that not many places really have me shell-shocked or awe-inspired or jaw-dropped, but the Palestra for the PCL every year, and it was an empty Cameron for shoot-around yesterday, but something about the place and seeing Cameron Indoor Stadium up where the radio guys were setting up, it was really darn cool.
Yeah, that's cool.
So, Coach Bowman, different team this year than we had last year, right? Last year, we're in the Philadelphia Catholic League final. We're in the PIAA state final. No Rob Wright this year, right? Amir Williams has been banged up this year. Lorenzo Jerkins emerging as a new piece who obviously couldn't play last year. Stefan Ashley Wright stepping up into a bigger role. Kafik Myers, unfortunately, banged up injury, really unfortunate injury, but we're not going to have him for the latter half of the season. How is Newman-Goretti still the consistent team that, if people tuned in at the time of this recording yesterday, just beat a good LaSalle team by 20, still taking care of business despite all the changes?
Yeah, it's just something that Carl's able to kind of get out of these guys, no matter who puts on that jersey, year after year. In his earlier years, he won a PCL championship with a team that the experts all picked him to be like 8th or 9th in the league, and they won the whole thing. It's special. It's nice to obviously still have Amir, playing sort of every once in a while, kind of with his injury. Kafik, obviously, he actually had surgery on Thursday. So we were all talking with them yesterday before the game. But, to still have them around, just that presence, it's almost like having them, on the court to a degree. And our younger guys kind of know that. But, yeah, with 3 sophomores kind of leading the charge at guard for us. And then, a junior in Keon and Lorenzo, obviously, and Matt Gukas coming off the bench for us. It's a different lineup than, we thought we were going to kind of have, a month ago, let alone, 3 months ago, kind of the beginning of the season. But, just like back to what I said, it's, Carl can get kind of the most out of these guys. And, once you put on that jersey, you're just, you're now a Newman-Goretti player. And, it means a little more than, who you are as an individual, and it's really a team thing for us.
And for someone that maybe hasn't watched a Newman-Goretti game this year, or hasn't been down to South Philly for a game, we're talking about Deshaun Yates, we're talking about Stefan Ashley Wright, and we are talking about Torrey Brooks Jr. Can we just go into it with those 3 guys, right? What makes those 3 sophomores so effective together, tough defensively, can shoot the ball? What about those 3 are continuing that legacy of the great guards of South Philadelphia?
Yeah, I mean, they're kind of guys who, they play for one another. They kind of realize, maybe it's not my turn tonight. You're up tonight, or I'm up tonight. Like, Deshaun last night had 20 or close to 20 points, and Torrey only had 4, but Torrey's had 25 plus multiple times this year, and and defensively, yeah, they kind of can guard 1 through 4 pretty easily. We thought that Deshaun kind of matched up with Nick Parisi pretty well last night, and kind of kept him in check. Got away from us a little in the first half, but yeah, it's it's kind of just roles that we ask them to play, and they know that if they do their piece, that the guys around them will do their piece, and it kind of all comes together in the end. But yeah, those 3, being sophomores, it's special. I mean, Deshaun was going to play obviously a little bit this year, but with Kafik being out, he's kind of been 30 plus minute, a game guy. And, he's relished at that.
No doubt. And one game that I want to look at before we get into, looking at the playoffs a little bit is Lorenzo Jerkins, a guy that couldn't play last year for whatever PIAA reasons, but a guy that has PIAA state playoff experience, a guy that has won big PIAA state playoff games. And when I think about one of the craziest games ever, I'm thinking about the Ryan Chester game back when he was just a sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
You guys play Archbishop Ryan in South Philadelphia this year. Lorenzo Jerkins is ready for the challenge, and you guys end up winning that game in overtime. Talk a little bit about how important Lorenzo Jerkins is. Undersized starting five, probably a 4 at Westchester, but so tough, so gritty, and can get the job done against some of the best bigs in the league.
Yeah, and Thomas is something else. I mean, there's no one like him in our league. In my opinion, he's kind of the clear cut, MVP. If you look at it from a who did what against, kind of the bigger teams in the league. I mean, you can't really stop him. You just have to kind of, keep him to, a double with, maybe 6 blocks. And you kind of be okay with that. Lorenzo's a tough kid. Being a senior and in the Catholic League, means something no matter where you play. People always point out, he's a senior, he's been around, he's seen stuff. And we were a little not worried, but with him getting his junior year taken away from him, we were hoping that a senior version of him would emerge rather than just a guy playing his 3rd year of high school basketball. And he's been great for us, and it was really good in that Ryan game. Kind of matched Thomas's energy, and we did okay kind of, on the other guys that, they didn't make enough shots really. And, he could only grab so many offensive rebounds and so many putbacks and all that kind of stuff that, we're kind of able to, get out of there, the way we did with a win.
Andrew, the big story off the court, I guess maybe not off the court, it's very technically on the court.
Mm-hmm.
Carl Aragale had his name etched on the floor in South Philadelphia, and it's now always and forever Carl Aragale Court. First off, very well deserved. Can't really think of anyone more deserving of something like that in the league. What has he meant to Newman-Goretti, and what makes him one of the all-time greats?
Yeah, I got to observe Carl when I was a student, in the Catholic League, going to LaSalle, and then in college, kind of, following. And I was always like, wow, this guy he can really get it done with, no matter who, he's got there. And then, being there now, this is my 8th year with him. He's just, one of the most humble people I know. We were down there, and I think it was the day after, they etched out, Carl Aragale Court on the court. And, he just continues with practice, and, no one, he doesn't point anything out. And we're like, Coach, like, your name's on this thing. Oh yeah. They said they were going to do that, and he got his 300th Catholic League win this year. And, we didn't find out until Rich Flanagan, tweeted about it. And we're like, oh, congrats, Coach. He's like, oh, thanks. Yeah, I knew I was, I guess, close if you do the math, I guess. So, that's just him. He's it's never about him. He's not in it for, accolades or records or anything. He's just, trying to, make a group of kids each year, be the best versions of themselves, and, kind of set them down the path of, basketball can help you in life, and, take you to places that, maybe you wouldn't have an opportunity to go and do.
Andrew, one more from me. You think back to last year, and obviously you guys had incredible talent, had a lot of success, but it's not me talking. I know the standard at Newman-Goretti, right? It's Philadelphia Catholic League titles and state titles, and you were 2 possessions short from 2 trophies there. What has been the feedback as it pertains to last year? How does this group feel? Does that motivate them this year? You saw Lincoln Park, and you handled them up in Erie. Going to look a little bit different if you see them again in the 4A final without Myers on the floor, of course. But how does last year, pertain to this year as it regards to the attitudes, et cetera, coming back from those guys?
Yeah, not that it's a totally different group this year. That's certainly not true. There were guys that were there last year. But having Sultan now at Iona, Bruce out in Iowa, Rob down in Florida, it is a different group kind of to a degree. So not that it's not etched in their minds maybe as much as some of the coaches or some of the guys who weren't here, but they always joke. They're like, we're going to make our foul shots today or something like that, and then we play Salesianum down at Widener, and we go 32 for 32 from the line, and we're like,
that's unbelievable. I've never heard anything like that at the high school level.
Yeah, and again, something that like we didn't really even know kind of until the game was over. We're like, I think we shot it, pretty good. Like maybe we missed one. If I had to go back and remember, but playing Lincoln Park was great. It's not a home game for them, but we're obviously on the western side of the state, and Pittsburgh and schools out there, they travel pretty well. So playing Cathedral Prep and then playing Lincoln Park, two really tough road games. I know it was like a neutral tournament, but kind of doesn't really feel like that. So that was good to just kind of prove to, I think, our guys, or prove to themselves that we can get back and do this, and the past is the past, and we only can worry about the next game.
And before we conclude, I wanted to give you a chance here, a guy that absolutely should get first team All Catholic honors, and maybe this is a plea to the other coaches to recognize this, but Kafik Myers is a guy who isn't going to play the rest of the season. Obviously, as you said, just had surgery, and we wish him all the best. He's a guy who's going to have an absolutely tremendous A10, Big Five college career, and he's a guy that had an absolutely tremendous career at Newman-Goretti. I mean, I think of him in that first half battling through the ankle injury against Roman Catholic last year. I think about him, defending at the highest level, game in and game out. I think of him. I guess defense continues to come to mind, right? It's an off night, whoever Kafik Myers is guarding, and then offensively, the ability to knock down shots. Even in that game that he got hurt this year against Archbishop Wood, that first half was one of the best first halves of basketball, cleanest execution-wise, and that's because of Kafik Myers. So if you could just talk about Kafik Myers for a little bit, a guy that is truly one of the better South Philly guards we've seen, and that's putting him up with the Rob Wrights, the Jaquan Newtons, the Quad A Greens. He's a guy that might not have his name in the rafters as a 1,000-point scorer or something like that, but he's the guy who's a legend at Newman-Goretti, and I hope people remember that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you touched on it there at the end with the scoring. It's the little things and defensively and his attitude that he brings that really makes him special and stands out. As far as first team All Catholic stuff, I know they've done that in the past, done like a an honorary maybe 11th spot, or they do actually take one of the 10 and give it to a kid who had a serious injury. But I mean, yeah, he was absolutely humming as we were going this year, and seeing him kind of get up limp at that Wood game. He's the type of guy who he can be hurt and he won't tell you. So to see him kind of react the way he did, he kind of knew something was seriously wrong. And it's always a what would have happened type thing if that didn't happen. And I'm obviously proud of how we have handled that situation and gone forward. But yeah, I mean he's one of a kind for sure. He's been around the program for a long time, coming to our camps in the summer. Everyone just kind of looked at him as like this, undersized guard. He can't play at the high school level, and he's maybe grown an inch since freshman year, and he's really proven to people that he can play at this level and, going to do it at the next level. Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, talking about him, just makes me think back on all the 4 years and, memories we have as a team with him and our staff with him. And just, I feel awful for kind of the way how things ended this year for him. But he's, every time we see him, he's bright smile on his face. We now call him Coach Feek because, the kids listen to him more than they do Carl sometimes, in the middle of games, and, he'll bring him over at foul shots and talk to him and all that kind of stuff.
I'm sure
so
Carl's okay with that too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
His style,
yeah.
I'm sure he loves that.
Yeah, he's like, well, if you're not going to listen to me, at least listen to Kafik. So they do that.
Great.
Yeah, but like I said, he's a one of a kind kid, and I can't say enough great things about him. And anyone who knows the Catholic League's been around and watched games for 4 years knows how special he is to us, to our league, to South Philly. He's got a whole hell of a lot of family that's down in this area that played, and they're always at every game, and it's going to be nice to have him local, for the next 4 or 5 years, depending on what he does, redshirt wise, next year at St. Joe's.
That's great. Well, we appreciate you having us. To your comment about the size and people saying he's not going to be able to, to play at this level. It's funny. I'm about tired of folks saying that the Josh Sharkeys of the world, now we're seeing the Bud Clarks of the world, that these diminutive guards from Philadelphia are not going to be able to play at the next level because they are consistently, the folks that say that are consistently wrong.
Yeah.
And, there are some special guards that come out of this city. Kafik is the next one. So we wish him the best, and we'll be following him very closely, like you said, for the next 4 or 5 years. We're going to be following you for maybe a month plus here, because as we all know, Will, Newman-Goretti season usually starts around mid-February, and there's a lot of big basketball to come. So Andrew, thanks for doing this. Thanks for being on the preview show, and we'll see you real soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Bob, I'll see you. Will, enjoy today.
Thank you.
Thank you to Andrew Bowman. It is always a pleasure talking to him. All of a sudden, one of the old guard in terms of assistants in the Philadelphia Catholic League, Will, and he has put his mark on that program. He's done an unbelievable job under Carroll for a long time. This Newman-Goretti team, much like Roman Catholic that we talked about a little bit ago, is much different than last year's group. Andrew touched on that. And yet here they are again, Roman Catholic 1 and Newman-Goretti 2 in the Philadelphia Catholic League standings. How does it happen?
We just said about Chris McNesby, we shouldn't be shocked that a Chris McNesby team is doing well. We absolutely should not be shocked that a Carl Arragale team is doing well. Carl Arragale, for people who are new to the Philadelphia Catholic League or someone who follows casually, Carl Arragale has 12 Philadelphia Catholic League titles. The only other team that has that many is Roman Catholic. It's Newman-Goretti with 22, Roman Catholic with 32 or 33, and then there's nobody with more than 12. Carl Arragale would team-wise be third. I mean, it's incredible.
The Fighting Carl Arragales. I'd pay to see that. I love that.
So the fact that not we, but people in general are like, hey, this Newman-Goretti team is not the same team as years past. It's naive, right? It's Carl Arragale. It's the same staff. It's Andrew Bowman on the staff. Think about Carl Arragale's coaching tree, right? The John Moscos of the world coming from the Carl Arragale coaching tree, and now the Chris Roundtrees of the world coming from the John Mosco coaching tree, right? There's a reason why all roads lead back to Newman-Goretti's Carl Arragale. Rant over. This team, guard-wise, is tough. They really are, right? No Kafik Myers for the rest of the season, and we talked to Andrew Bowman about that. And I want to say a quick piece about that. I think Kafik Myers is a first-team All-Catholic guy, honorary or not. I think that the kid is one of the better defenders that we've seen in the past couple of years. I think he's one of the better floor generals that we've seen in the past couple of years, and a guy that it's unfair to him because he's been so tough for this team for so long, and this was his year to lead these guys. And I think his leadership skills are going to be on display in these playoffs because the Deshaun Yates, the Showtime Tory Brookses of the world, these guys haven't played in Catholic League playoff games before, but I think they're going to be ready because of Kafik Myers. Direct testament to Kafik Myers.
Yeah, quick thought on Kafik. I do think it would have been a 3-horse race for the Philadelphia Catholic League MVP. You might tell me it would have been a 1-horse race. It would have been Myers' award, but I think it would have been a 3-horse race between Myers, Jalil Bethea, and Thomas Sorber. And again, apologies if I'm missing anyone, but Will, I would say that those names feel about right as of right now, Sorber and Bethea.
Yeah, I think you're all over that, Bob. I think that it's going to be Sorber and Bethea going down at the end. Jaron McKee, good season. There's almost too much talent there.
That's it.
Right?
There's
Jaron
too
McKee,
much disbursement. I mean,
yeah.
Ellerby has been great, right? And then, Chamberlain and Harper are very, very good pieces as well.
Yeah, and Gorman knocks down shots too, right? So that's absolutely nothing against Jaron McKee. It's more just a embarrassment of riches at 17th and Girard. But no, to your point, I think Kifik Myers absolutely would have been an MVP candidate this year and a guy that would have gotten votes, and I think still will get first team all Catholic votes.
So I don't know that we're going down this road here, but we're at the end of a long show. Do you have? I'm not going to make a pick. I'll be on the call for a lot of these games, but do you have a sense for how things are going to go here?
You're pulling the Kirk Herbstreit card. I mean,
that's right.
That's fine. That's fine.
I'd like to keep calling these games, Will, year after year. That's right.
Yeah, obviously, I'm out of town, so I won't be calling these games. So sure, I'll
hopefully soon when you're all said and done, BC.
Yeah.
Which don't rush that, by the way. It's the best time of your life, but we'll get you back.
No doubt. So. I will throw out, for me, it's Thomas Sorber, which is, I think, a hot take. I think there's going to be people who say, like, hey, are you watching Jaleel Bethea put up 33 a game against?
So you're talking MVP. You're not talking he's going to, well, maybe we'll get to that. Will he lead Ryan to the title? Okay, so you're starting MVP. You're going with Thomas Sorber.
I'm starting MVP. Yeah, sorry about that. I thought we were going with, Kifik Myers, Jaleel Bethea, Thomas Sorber, that 3-horse. It would have been a 3-horse race. I think it's a 2-horse race. My pick is Thomas Sorber. I think defensively, he brings so much to the table. And I think when you talk about value, if you take him out of that Archbishop Ryan situation, right, they are so built on defense and having a shot blocker at the back end. So there's my quick pick. But no, back to
Sorber, by the way, just a quick thought. Sorber is great. Jaleel Bethea is in a very similar situation. Him and Josh Reed. I mean, they came back from a 14-point deficit against a gritty LaSalle team, probably the best game that LaSalle played all year. And no one else on the floor scored a point in the second half other than Reed and Bethea. And so I feel the same way in that Wood does not, while they have very solid players, they don't have the depth in terms of like the create your own shot guys aside from Reed and Bethea. Anyways, just food for thought there.
No, I agree with you. And Jaleel Bethea and Archbishop Wood, right? At the beginning of the season, at the beginning of the PCL, you're kind of looking at them. Again, this is the Newman-Goretti segment, so I apologize for going on a little bit of a tangent here.
Yeah, this is our end of the show. This is yeah. So we're good.
My bad. That Archbishop Wood team at the beginning of the year, you're looking at them like, oh boy, like are they playing together the right way? But again, like we keep saying, like we question ourselves, and we're like, they're John Moscow coach, they're gonna figure it out, right? If you're Carl Aragale coach, you're gonna figure it out. If you're Chris McNesby coach, you're gonna figure it out. This Archbishop Wood team has hit their stride, right? They look really good recently, and it shouldn't be a shocker, right? Like John Moscow has won 200 games at Archbishop Wood. He knows how to win, and their team is playing really well again.
Absolutely. All right, so Sorber for the MVP. Do you care to make a pick, or even at least give some thoughts on how the playoffs are going to shake out?
Sure. I mean, I can spitball a little bit here. I like Roman, and this is why. I think that defensively, they're top 2 in the league. I think it's them and Ryan defensively. I think offensively, they can beat you in a lot of different ways. They really can. They beat St. Joe's Prep second to last game of the season at 17th and Girard. They're comfortable playing in different environments, right? You see a lot of teams that, get real comfortable playing on their home court, but aren't that good on the road. Well, Roman Catholic plays games at Holy Family all the time. They played games on Broad and Vine. They play games on the road, right? You think about them beating St. Joe's Prep at 17th and Girard, right? This is a team that can go on the road. Defense travels. And then offensively, we touched on it during their segment, and we talked with Dan Hoban about this. 3 guys. When you think point guard by committee, you think, okay, is there really a natural point guard there? I mean, I think back to the LaSalle team like 3 years ago where it was point guard by committee, and it was like Chris Williams, Nick Ferrando, and Sam Brown. Probably 3 2 guards figuring it out at the point guard position. Roman Catholic, you could argue, has 3 point guards just sharing the point guard position, which is different than the point guard by committees that we generally think about. I think Roman Catholic, just from a defensive standpoint, from a handling the ball standpoint, right? From a we've been here before standpoint, right? Obviously new faces. Bob Cottrell played big minutes at the Palestra. Sharif Jackson has played gigantic minutes at the Palestra. And Chris McNesby, he's been there, he's done that, and he's won PCL hubcaps.
Yeah, I like it. It's a good pick. Well, if you guys have stuck with us this long, you are a basketball junkie. So congratulations on that. We're going to close up shop here and get ready to just sit back, enjoy some basketball. In my case, we're going to be on the road tomorrow night doing a game, and the 7, 10, 8, 9. And then on Friday, we will be on the road as well doing a game. So we are excited to do so. Follow Bob Long Sports on YouTube and Twitter and Instagram for all the insights and all the content, and letting you know when we're going live for our next broadcast. Will, thank you for cobbling this together over the last couple of days. It is fun to do this with you every year.
It's a blast, Bob. Thank you so much for having me. I wish I was there for the games this year, but thank God we have Bob Long Sports that I can tune in.
Best of luck with the Boston College Eagles and the rest of your season, Will. And be safe. We'll see you real soon.
Thank you.
All right, Philadelphia Catholic League basketball fans, the real season starts now. Enjoy the games starting tomorrow night.